not one of
Hit the wrong
these.
button again.
Yeah, I was
How many
on the
times I
wrong
hit the
one.
wrong
From the
fucking button,
edge
man?
of the
Oh, you
from
always
the
do
edge
do
of the
wrong
sea.
ones.
That's
From the
one. Do
edge
you want
of
us to keep
time.
track?
Oh my god, twice! Oh my gosh.
This is Harbor Town.
So,
Like, have you had a chance to look at my sea princes on my new map?
oh yeah, I
Harbor
love
Town is
it.
an
That's
all-new
my
site
sea
from Miniature
princess,
Building
not
Authority.
the.
Yeah, but the
leaders.
problem is
Scarlet
that there are
Brotherhood
some
sea
things
princess.
that needs to be
Unique,
added to it. I
flexible
think.
and playable.
Really?
Harbor Town.
Yeah, I think
will take your
I got
games.
the very both a comment saying that the sea princess went all the way up towards the geometry, and I read an article about there was one update from a Dragon magazine that mentioned something that the geometry took some villages and towns along the tours. They
Oh.
took settlements, captured them from sea princes some years earlier.
I thought they
that-
got pushed out though during the Greyhawk War.
Oh yeah, but now
Yeah,
this is
pushed
576 maps. That's why I need to go back. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yep.
yeah. Then, yeah.
So that means that I need to rethink things there a little bit. So yeah. So good input.
That's the beauty of dealing with the public, man. They'll point it out to you.
Oh yes, exactly. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, they'll let you know. Hey, you screwed this up. You screwed that up. That's okay. Definitely, it's good to have input. It really is.
Yep.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't do half of this if I didn't have all the wonderful, smart, educated, experienced people that do way more about Greyhawk than I do, keeping a close eye and scrutinize my maps.
I used to only do my comic strips on Thursdays because that's when the
From
chats were. So it was just something to
Yeah.
converse about.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I do it my other day.
Yeah, I saw a sample of what the final book will look like, and
Oh, well, yeah, that.
yes,
Good.
it looks fantastic.
I really give him props for putting that all together. I wish we had discussed it sooner. I might have tried to learn something about,
The formatting
Resolution.
process.
Oh yeah, I helped him a couple of times. We went back and forth, but I think he managed to solve it without my help at
I'm
the
just
end.
saying,
But
as I did the comic, and I had probably 3 laptops over that period of time and a couple scanners, and I'm sure my resolutions were just like all over the place.
yeah, well, they all were for us back in the day. I just remember when I was doing my maps on a Pentium 90 or something like that with like 16 megabytes of RAM or whatever it was. It was terrible. Yep. And the screens that were
Hindsight, and
Yeah.
in way hindsight, I would not have done a grayscale comic. I should have just did black and white line art and been done with it.
Ah, that's true. Yeah.
I would have got twice as much done.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. And it would have looked cool. So then you can color it afterwards,
Just got
anyways.
carried away. Well, yeah. Full color obviously would have been nicer.
Yeah.
I would have
Well,
got more done.
When you're an artist and you start, drawing or doing different stuff, you're always like thinking, well, what if, let's try
Yeah.
this. That looks good.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're tweaking it all the time. So it's like, it's never the same. It's like, well, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, exactly. Now you nailed it. But it took me 20 years to do one
What's weird is-
map.
When I would pencil it, it looked really good. And sometimes when I inked it, it didn't look as good as my pencils.
Oh, dude, I used to have that all the time.
So,
It's
yeah.
like I'd go
If I
through.
did coloring it, I could fix that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like, I always, anytime I'd seen like the original comic book art, where the guys would do the original pencils, like, oh, wow, that looks so much, it's awesome. Look at all that detail. And then you see it after the inker, and it's like, they ruined it.
Yeah. And they literally ruined it because they inked over the pencil, so it was on the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like in Photoshop, you just create the layer, and that means that you have the pencil one left. So
Well, yeah, and halfway through that comic, I started using blue pencil. I finally found out that, I was, I could do it quicker, and I could be as sloppy as I want. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I have blue pencils, and I can just have. I'm still doing that and then erasing it. Not afterwards, get rid of stuff.
But I still I stopped doing that comic around January or February, I think, and I still have barely done any art since then.
I know, I go in spurts. Well, I went like years without doing anything substantial. I didn't really start getting back into art until past couple of years. They've been, gosh, I really hadn't drawn anything in over 20 years, really. I mean, it's been a long time. So, and it's like I'm going back and I'm trying to relearn, get that muscle memory. It's like, how did I used to shade that way? Or what did I do to get this? And like some of them, every once in a while, I'll have one that turns out really good. It's like, that's how I used to draw. And other ones, I'm like, that's crap. But,
well, yeah, and that's another thing that happened with
What's
the
up,
pacing
David?
of that comic was so spread out that stuff I did 5 years ago is nowhere near as good as what I did at the end of the run.
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
going back, I'm thinking,
But it's when you look in hindsight, look back at it, you realize how much you kind of developed and evolved and learned
Oh, yeah.
over years. So yeah, I realize that now when I'm double checking, or I'm going back and recheck my research, and I realize, damn, there's so much I've missed. So that's why
every time we have one of these shows, Anna finds
exactly. I find something every episode. There's something like, oh, this should be added, this should be changed, and stuff.
It never ends. I'm that way too, and that's why you get paralyzed with that sometimes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but I put it into a more kind of a
What's up, Frank? What's up, David?
hey, Frank.
What's up, Gary? I think I saw Gary Hoolian on too. Pluffett and Smedger, right?
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw. Yes. What's up, Girl? Oh, that's you, Mike. What's
Yes.
up, Gitano? What's up, Greg? So appreciate you guys hopping on.
Gary lurking.
Yeah, I just aspired to be as good of an artist I was when I was 18 and 19. Back when I used to draw every day, all the time.
I wish I had an ounce of artistic ability. I don't.
That's
Sure
all I
you do.
What? What do you mean? Sure, I do.
No, you're just creative in different ways.
Yeah, but I can't draw. I can't.
And you could probably sing really well. Go ahead.
No, I'm terrible.
Yeah, just a little one.
You heard me sing. You heard me sing the song from Animal House that one time. Will, that was it.
That was beautiful. Don't let anybody ever tell you different.
The fact
When
that
the cameras come on, you can do a little dance for us too. I'm sure you're probably
the
good.
funny thing was is on my my YouTube mirror for new people looking. That's the clip they see. You know how there's an intro clip?
That is awesome.
I'm so glad I'm old enough that I did all that crap before Facebook and YouTube and all that existed. So yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's get the entry screen on here that I put up originally for 4, so let's pop on here. Hello, good evening. We got a full house up here tonight. So I'm Jay, aka Lord Gazumba, and with me are, of course, Greyhawk Mike and the great Anna Meyer. So we have a special guest on tonight. But we had 2, and they were going to be on at different times. But one, Brian Sublime's wife was in a serious car accident and is in the hospital. She's okay, but he will not be on. So my apologies for Brian, and hopefully just give him a little prayer that his wife's real cool, that everything goes well with that. But we have Will from introduce
Hi.
yourself, Will, because first time you've been on Legends and Lore. Even
This is true.
A lot, so.
Yeah. I'm Will DM. I'm the chief dungeon master, game master, all that over at Wicked Studios LLC, right here on Twitch.
Awesome.
And I've been running Greyhawk since we started streaming. So this is, God, how many years now?
2.
I think it's over that because we started. Well, no. Yeah, because we started Bandits right around the same time. It wasn't too right around close to when you started, wasn't it, Jay?
It was very close.
It was like within a couple of months.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. It was very close, and you know, it's been a fun ride, and you know, Will and I have always tried to host each other's streams, and you know, show up on each other's streams, and always do those fun things, try and keep the Greyhawk community together. Because I'd say besides you know, Carlos is another one. There's a lack of Greyhawk streamers out there right now that there really is, and you know, we've been trying to work on getting some other ones out there, and hopefully we'll be successful doing that. But we brought Will on tonight because we're going to talk about Saltmarsh then and now. And I don't know, we're gonna have to figure out how this discussion is gonna go. We're gonna just like, I don't want to go point. I like bouncing around, right, Mike?
Spoilers too.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. For me, spoiler alert, not from me because I've read it, but I haven't played it.
I'm gonna spoil the hell out of it. So
okay. Yep, good. Yeah.
But it's okay.
So if you have any intention of playing in Saltmarsh, don't watch any of this.
Yeah.
We got a lot of stuff. I'm going to take care of the old school aspect of it. Mike, you're playing it right now too, correct?
Yeah, I'm most of the way through it already too. I'm talking about Ghosts of Saltmarsh.
Absolutely. And yes, my hands are not burning. I have one of my own in 5e in my hands. Okay. So I do have it. And,
I must give my credentials too. Yes, I also have.
Yes, absolutely. I was interested, and there's some.
I think there's some old
ways put
versions
together. We all have it, so
I have to. Yeah, I don't want to seem like the odd man out there.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah.
But Will has run it and just finished his campaign.
Yeah.
I ran it. I started running it twice. I was running it before. In 5e that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Don't say anything else.
I'm not going to say anything else. I was running it in 5e self conversion before Ghost Saltmarsh came out.
Right.
And then was running the Ghost of Saltmarsh.
Yes.
Well.
So
we just finished that 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
nice.
Absolutely. I think it was less than that. I think it was like 2.
Might be, but it might be 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
So here's a quick Brian. When Brian came to me and when he was like, "Look, Jay, tell me why I should do Greyhawk over Forgotten Realms." I said, "Are you freaking kidding me? I mean, come on, man." And he's like, "Well, every time I run a Forgotten Realms adventure, it feels like I have to save the world every single time." I said, "Well, what do you expect, man? I mean, that's the way it is.
It needs to be saved."
Right, it needs to be saved. So I said to him, "This is what you do," and I gave him a list of adventures to start out with. I said, "This is pre-Ghosts." I said, start with the Saltmarsh. Look at Saltmarsh and just see how great the series is, and you could fill in stuff. Look at the area. Look at Anna's maps, and he was hooked. And he has his Obsidian Portal site, which unfortunately, well, we may be able to link to it, and I could pop up some things on there on our but you know, unfortunately, but
I guess that will be my way of what I can contribute is that I can kind of give a perspective on where Saltmarsh is in the world and how it interacts with the rest of the campaign. That's probably a little bit of my expertise tonight, but yeah.
So he, that's what he would do on it, and so he was hooked, and now he's running something that Will and myself and Anna play on a Saturday Night Special. Brian DMs for us in that Saltmarsh area in 5e. So along with the Nazrat, and so it's fun. We're having a good time with that. We need to have another one up very soon. So all right, Will, why don't you talk about since I know we only have you for a limited time, what happened with Saltmarsh, what you were doing, some highs, some lows. If you want to try and keep it away from spoilers, or
Well, and here's the thing: a lot of the points, though, I guess I'll try.
It's
probably.
Okay.
As far as I guess I'll compare running old versus new when I was doing, because when I did a conversion on the original Saltmarsh, and I was going through, of course, in the original Saltmarsh, you make Saltmarsh. So I went through and built the town and populated it with the NPCs and so forth. So I had all this great stuff that I had done and used only for a little bit, and then and until Ghosts came out, and then when Ghosts of Saltmarsh came out, I went and I imported a lot of that stuff. So the bulk of my NPCs in Ghosts of Saltmarsh were not in the book. They were all my devised. And one of the reasons I did that too, because I went through and I looked at what was in there. I think probably the most prevalent one that I used was Elendil, which is like the captain of the guard sort of thing. But a lot of, how do I say this and not have it sound bad? The town itself has a very distinct Forgotten Realms feel to it, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like one of the things that I laughed out loud when I read is they have the Iusian representative in town that's there buying supplies. Different. I was like, what? It's like, okay, first of all, no. And then on top of that, they introduce it's a tiefling. And it's like, okay, and they don't address the fact that it's a tiefling, but I don't even think at all. Or if they do, it's like a sentence. So it's like you're integrating something into the Greyhawk world that doesn't. I mean, it's there. You can use it, but you have to definitely say why. There's no. How the hell is a tiefling going to be just hanging out? Oh, hey, I'm just here buying stuff for Ius.
Don't be like having 10 dog bells running around the town.
Yeah, I was like, what the?
All right, so that's
that part. It is a huge stretch for it to be Ius, because how's she getting her stuff back?
Right.
Ius. You have to know the geography. If you don't know the geography, then you're like, oh, okay.
Well, even aside from that, obviously, it's like, okay, she's not going around town telling people that's what she would be doing. No. She'd have to be lying through her teeth. There's nothing about a cover story or anything along these lines. And I feel that they just threw her in as like, hey, this will be a good way for us to put a tiefling in there. Everybody, they just like tieflings, and let's put this in there. So I don't know. It seemed kind of crammed. The other thing that I had, and it's not so much, like I said, it's not so much a problem. It's just not the way I was designing Saltmarsh. There's a ton of troops there.
Yeah.
There's 100 guards for, I think is what they say, 100 guards for Saltmarsh.
In 576?
Did they even say what year that it's?
Yeah,
I don't know
if
it's
they do. Supposed to be set pre-Greyhawk Wars. Yeah.
Right. So, but still, it's like, wow.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Well,
that's an awful lot.
If you consider there's tension between the Sea Princes and Keeland, it's right across.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
take that into consideration.
And I think maybe that's probably what my major beef, what it is, and it's not really a beef. I mean, all in all,
observation.
That's a good way of putting it.
Right.
Is that there's all these different things that if you're a grayhead, a Greyhawker, and you're like, hey. I know this stuff, and you read about that and go, okay, well, where's the rest of this story? Because there's got to be more to this because of X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So, but as a whole, not so bad.
Trying to find populations in it.
I'm pretty as far as the guards.
No,
overall population. I don't recall reading that.
I know it's in here.
I thought it was
It-
like 2000, right?
Maybe at the very beginning. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that was that was interesting. Going, and like I said, I preferred using a lot of, and the stuff that they have in the book's not bad. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want it to seem like I'm saying poo poo is all trash.
Yeah.
The one thing, like I was telling Jay, that I came to find with it was, and I don't know if you had the same experience with this, Mike, is that most of the 5e stuff is not nearly as deadly as the older stuff. I found that Saltmarsh is a lot more deadly because of the Sahuagin and the new rules to them. I mean,
Yeah.
that blood frenzy where they're getting the
Uh-huh.
advantage on the rolls with the multiple attacks and stuff, it's pretty deadly. And especially if the final enemy, you're in there and that is not a hack and slash module.
No.
And I think that it really needs to be really emphasized, because you go in there, and because when I ran them through that and they went through the top level, they were like, okay, that's not too bad. They specifically say at the beginning when you're first going in, see, here's all the spoilers. Sorry,
We're shooting straight for the middle of this book, by the way.
yeah,
Go on.
and so
Might as well.
They had the one part at the very beginning, as opposed to not alert everybody else, they say there's only one guy that'll raise the alarm, just one, and if
Just
he
in-
dies, then everything's okay. Unfortunately, they killed him, so no alarm was raised. So
Plus, well, I know in this one, in the old deal, and is deadly because it's all underwater. And and you're slow, but Will says in 5th edition, as long as you have swimming or
if you have a swim speed,
Yeah.
you're not slowed.
well, yeah, it doesn't have the where it has to be a thrust or like short sword spears and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's nothing like that.
So, and that's like, that helps out a lot.
Yeah.
So,
because I remember how nasty it was in
but if you don't have a swim speed, then you are subject to that.
Okay.
So.
Well, now that you brought up Final Enemy, I want to throw in my recent experience with it, because that's the last thing I've ran.
Sure.
And the setup on that, like he said, was you're supposed to do a reconnaissance mission. You go in the top, the dry portion, and then you report back, and then they launch this big battle. Well, I knew my friends, and it was not going to be no reconnaissance mission with them.
Exactly.
They're just going to plow right through it. So I reworked the whole thing to be like a backdoor attack. I let all the NPCs do their thing, and I let my friends, the players, go in through the underwater entrance. And from there, they just had basically 2 game sessions to do what they're going to do, and then after that, everything else is plundered. So it's kind of a time limit deal.
Yeah.
And it worked out so much better overall, because if they did the way it was designed to be ran, it would have took longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, isn't that tonight you had 2 guys there instead of your whole group? You said you were short-handed that night.
That was the second one, Danger at Dunwater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that one I did with just 2 of my friends, and they did it all diplomacy. Blew my mind.
That's awesome.
We got it done in an evening.
So Casey that's when the show started. See, everyone's having all sorts of problems tonight. It's okay, man. Sorry, but yeah.
Yeah.
When I ran the stream, they had, and then they had 2 actual combats. The second combat they called off partially, and then allowed themselves to be captured. Again, because it was, and I was prefacing some of these things as far as, kind of like giving it, because I have a lot of, Leroy Jenkins types. Exactly.
Mhm.
I just I know that. So I'm telling, hey, these guys aren't necessarily, and they went ahead, and were able then to, it was the same thing. They were able to do it diplomatically, which I was very happy with on that as well.
Yeah, I think that it also included being captured as well,
Mhm.
because it just cuts straight to the
Exactly.
important
Yeah.
part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what happened in the final enemy? Also, I forgot to mention, not a spoiler or anything, but the player of my wizard got Arcane Eye, and that just like
Nice.
it was just me drawing maps for half an hour while they didn't move.
What I did was
Wow.
Ridiculous.
because when I was basically going along the same lines as like as I was looking to help out the party. Now, what I did was that this was the old lizard folks. This was their place.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it's gone under some renovation from the Sahuagin and whatnot, but it was primarily their digs. So what I did was okay, the lizard folk are going to provide you with maps of their place.
Oh yeah.
And the only thing that they didn't have maps for was the lowest level, if I remember correctly, was always flooded, and the lizard folk really didn't use it. And so the last level had no map. So I gave them maps of the first two levels, so they were able to use those to kind of help themselves to navigate through. So, but in mine too, there was an overarching story where they were trying to find these different keys because Xenopolis's tower they put right there.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do with that.
So, well, I totally changed that, and it became all part of a Lost Sewell library. And
Is that on your map now, Anna?
Yeah, the Tower of Sinopus. Yes. Mm-hmm.
We can. So, Will, you got till like 8:45.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can hop on that. I just want to make sure. Let's see if I can do this without screwing this up tonight.
Uh-oh.
That's the old map.
Woo, good job.
Nice.
Okay, here it is.
There's the new one. Yep.
Yep,
It's
okay.
not the newest, but it's not the 576. This is the latest version of my 598 map.
Right. And you can see the Tower of
See,
Xenopus is
yeah.
right there, is on there. Haunted House is on there, which is cool. It's a neat map. You got a lot, and Burl is way down where it was before. So there's some changes on this. We'll pop this back when we're talking about some of the other changes. But just so you get a reference point to where that tower that Will is talking about is.
Yeah, and I changed
definitely.
his name up because I wasn't going to have it connected to the original adventure. So
Right.
Xenopus became Xenopolis, you know. But they had to find these two lost keys that the lizard folk were keeping safe for Xenopolis, who was and I connected that to the old alchemist in the haunted house.
Oh, okay.
And they were a dual wizard combo that were safeguarding, and then had found this library and were safeguarding it. So they had to go through the bottom level searching for that anyway, trying to be stealthy and going through. It was another reason to not just go and bash everything, because they had to try and find these things that were left when the lizard folk were kicked out.
So is that Danger at Dunwater part that that happens, or is that in the third part? Will
in the third part, yeah, in the third
Okay.
part is where I had that happen.
All right.
So
What happens to the 4 adventures afterwards? Did you not do them?
Oh, well, the adventures, the way that they have it set up in there is that because there's such a gap between Danger at Dunwater and then the final enemy, they have some other ones to help that you can get them up in level, and then there's some that you can put on the tail end.
Oh, I see the
Yeah.
order here. Salvage Operation Isle of the Abbey.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. And what I ended up doing was I only ran Isle of the Abbey because they had done enough different stuff just putzing around that they were able to. I only really needed one filler to get them up sufficiently in level. And what I did with the Isle of the Abbey,
I believe it's in this dungeon. Yeah.
I took all the humans out of the Isle of the Abbey. They were all dead. They were on there. The Abbey was there. But it was the Sahuagin were the ones that destroyed the Abbey because they're conquering the area.
That
so
makes
it's like,
sense.
and I was like, this will be a good way too for me to give them a little bit of a taste of how basically just how badass the Sahuagin can be against you when you get into a fight with them. And so, yeah, and so they got their first taste of it there, and they got kind of a clue. And it it helped them a little bit that after they went in, it's like I had one or two players kept going, we got to be careful here. And then I had like two players going, kill him.
So you did not run Tamara's Fate or the Styes afterwards?
No, I did not. I did not
Okay.
run those.
I'm gearing up to run Tamarit's Fate, and I'm trying to decide where to place it.
Well, isn't it placed in Shieldlands Fiorendi? An original?
The suggested place in this book says South Province.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually, I think it's.
Or no, that's Styes.
Yeah,
I
it's
think-
set in the Realmore Bay. It's set.
Okay,
in,
so it isn't in there.
That's what I think they suggest, but it's kind of hinted at. But hang on a second, I need to look at
I'm
it.
leaning towards Tamarit's Fate is set on an island,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm
there's.
leaning
Okay.
towards putting mine off the coast of Q-Land.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, because it's weird that they go so far away because there's like
Exactly,
half
yeah.
a world away. So it's
Yeah, you do
and
your
there's
whole thing
nothing
around the
mention
Saltmarsh
of the
area.
ocean journey and all the troublesome waters you have to
Yeah.
get across and all the ports you have to call on the way and stuff. So to me, it's kind of weird that all these big journeys that actually show the world are just ignored.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't run campaigns that way.
I'm
but
being positive. I'm not. I
Yeah.
promise myself after the day I've
I need
had
to
last
look
3
at this
days
here
to
and
be very
see.
positive.
Yeah.
So
But it's me being cranky. It's not the game.
Oh,
the
there you
edition
go.
being Wrong. It's
After
me.
my first read through of Tamarit's
Yeah.
Fate, though, I never read the original. If anyone else has, but I feel
Tamarit's
it's
Fate.
similar to Isle of the Abbey.
I got it. It
It's
is.
an
Are they,
island.
are they both by Mike Merles? I know Mike Merles wrote a couple of those.
No,
I think because I was looking up in the dungeons. I think Mike Merles wrote at least one of those.
One.
He wrote one. I couldn't tell you which one it
Yeah.
was. I can tell you which ones they aren't, but
No, all right. So Mike Will is Return of the Banded Kingdoms, and Will plays in that game. So Brian was supposed to be on later. I know you just hopped on. His wife was in a serious car accident, and he will not be on tonight. He was going to be on around 9:10 Eastern time, but he will not be on because of that. So he was going to come on and discuss that, but discuss his version of Saltmarsh.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have the place for Tamarat's Fate. It's
Yeah.
in Uskarn in the Viscounty of Eventide that is part of Nyrond.
Okay.
Yep,
That's-
so
wow.
it has a location. Yep, it's the
Ah,
village
so-
of Uskarn. Yep.
You're
Yeah.
on one
Yeah, the
side
adventure
of the bay.
begins with the characters traveling along the coast and arriving in the nearby village of Uskarn.
Uskarn,
In Greyhawk, it's probably about 1,500 miles at least.
yeah.
that's
Plus-
nearby.
Multiple
Yeah.
bodies of water and oceans and past 10 countries and stuff. Then you come to the little village of Uskarn. It's not just along the coast. It's ridiculous. But
So-
on the other hand, it's one book and they have to squeeze it in. So I can
Well, I'm trying to keep everything on the western side.
Yeah.
So Tamarit's Fate, I'm going to put on the Q-Land coast, and I'm thinking of putting the Styes, which I think is a slum of some kind. I might put that either in Grad Sul or in.
Yeah, there is a lot of what kind of unused coastline of
Yeah.
Keelan. Keelan has a surprisingly long coastline
Yeah,
for
because
being
the
what they
Dreadwood
usually seen as a landlocked country.
the
Almost.
Dreadwood cuts it off, and a lot of people don't realize south of the Dreadwood is still Keeland, and a lot of people never
Yeah.
realize that.
Saltmarsh is in Keeland.
Like,
So that
absolutely,
you have, yeah.
absolutely.
So in case someone else, some of the viewers haven't realized
Yeah.
that, but it's
Before 5th edition, I had ran Saltmarsh
Yeah.
to start off my Sea Princess campaign, which I had ran going back to like 3.5.
Mhm. Yeah,
S-
and the Saltmarsh is one town of several in the Viscounty of Salinmore. That is the southernmost province of Keoland. It's kind
I
of
don't think that
an offshoot. Is one of these kind of dislocated province almost because you have the Dreadwood and some of that wilderness in between. But
Where's
so it's
Barry's
kind of
missing?
the furthest outbacks of Keoland. So to speak.
Definitely.
Yeah, on the
Absolutely.
frontier of Keoland.
So, Will, some questions for you in
Yeah.
reference between
Mhm.
1E, the original U1, and U2 and U3. did you get the feel from you've run the first part twice? Did you get a feel of the haunted house that it was like? Did you give them that ambiance of it being haunted? You, Mike, as well can answer that one. I mean, that's the joy of this part of the adventure, as Carlos points out in chat. I mean, it's cool the way there's not many monsters in the top part at all.
No, there's just Ned.
Yeah. I don't know what you do with wandering monsters in 5e, but there's a whole wandering monster table. But so.
Well,
Just
I
curious.
Twice, remember, and this was with two different groups,
Okay.
and I think both times they were fooled
Okay.
by what the house is about.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I didn't ham it up or play up the ghost part of it
Right.
as much. I turned magic mouths into stones that had basically magic mouths on them that made creepy noises and things along these lines. And they found those, and I mean, once they monkey around a little bit in the house, but I mean, like, asides like falling through holes and
I was going to say,
and stuff like that. That's the bulk. I mean, the centipedes. Now, here's the thing: in the first, when I ran the first time, and it was the 1E, Adam's character died by Sturges in the attic. Okay. In 5E, there are no Sturges.
Oh, which
they took them out,
man.
You could, but poor Adam. Nobody was going up there when I was running there because they're like, there's nothing in the attic. Don't worry about it. We're not going up there.
There are just flowers in the attic. I'm sorry.
Falling through stairs and floors happened so much in the 5e version for me. It was hilarious. It was almost like watching Home Alone. At one point, someone fell through the floor. The next person come along wanted to jump over that hole, rolled a 1, and landed on top of his
awesome.
friend. It was comical.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think one of the reasons too that I really didn't play up the haunted aspect of it is, for one, Michael, one of the players, Saltmarsh is one of his favorites. So I actually was going consciously away from some things that are already pre-established in the books, because I know with him already knowing Saltmarsh, not that I was afraid that Michael was going to metagame anything, but more so too just to make it more entertaining. One thing I did is that Ned's not a bad guy.
Really?
In Ghosts. Yeah, he's not a bad guy. He just happens to be an old drunk. Well, actually, no, that was the other guy. He is basically, he's a thief who is somebody who is, says he's at the house and he's looking to make a quick score. What he really is, he's a Keelandish spy.
Ooh.
Working for the crown.
Oh, wow.
And he's like investigating different stuff around town. So, and this is some way that I had him change. Now, the fella that Ned's supposed to be was turned into a guy by the name of Grimpus, that's the drunk from town that is offering to go and help them and what have you. And they were pretty quick on with him. Now with Ned, if you play this on Roll20 and if you get the Roll20 packet, I had more fun with laughing at how they had messed things up in the Roll20 conversion of it.
Oh, wow.
Because they provide tokens for a lot of these different things. So comes time for them to meet Ned, not a problem. I get the token, pull it out, and I put it down there, and I'm like, that looks kind of funny. So we blow up the token to take a look at it. It's a drow. I mean, I was like, what?
That dude right there. Ned Shakeshaft.
Yeah. He was a drow. His token was a drow in the package.
Whoops.
I'd got. So what I did was I turned Ned, because he was a spy. He was also a cosplayer who disguised himself as a drow, and it was very obvious that he had makeup on. And
oh my gosh!
Yeah. So. And I was like, okay, well, we're just going to go with this because that's what the token looks like, just to have some fun. So,
so my second question from you, one, is how did the assault on the Sea Ghost go?
That actually went off pretty good because one of the players was playing a sea elf. I allowed him to play a sea elf, so we had
Oh,
to
well, that
swim
really
out there.
helps it apart. Okay.
2, the other guy was a, and I'm going to say it wrong because I always say it wrong. He was a water ganassi. I think I said it.
Yep.
And
That's
so he had a swim speed as well. So basically, the storming of the Sea Ghost turns into the boat because they found the lantern, they figured out the code. They're like, okay, cool. And the boat comes out, and the other 2 swam out, and they climbed up the other side as they're trying to talk to him, and like, oh yeah, no. And so when the other 2 came up the other side, then the combat starts, allows the others to get up onto the boat, and they actually had a pretty easy time of clearing the Sea Ghost of everybody.
That's interesting. So now twice I've ran Saltmarsh, both times. First time, Sea Elf player. Second time, Water Genocide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a huge advantage.
Oh yeah, it is big time. So,
and you don't have that option in 1E.
You don't.
No,
you don't. You can find Oceanus, and he can become a henchman, but which he did for a little while with them. So, but
well, it's good to hear. I mean, that sounds like it went to a similar place. So I want to ask if does anyone else have any other questions? I'm sorry, I'm hogging up all the questions here for Will while we still have him for about 15.
Yes.
When he has a stream tonight. So
yep, that's perfect.
On when you did Danger at Dunwater, did they avoid a lot of combat with the Lizardmen, or did they start wiping them out?
It started out with them coming in through the first room, getting into a combat, wiping out a bunch of lizard folk, and then continuing to go about, exploring. When they were starting to get into the second confrontation, I was dropping more hints. It's like, well, these guys aren't evil, and so it's like,
right.
I don't know if they like got my wink wink nudge nudge. You don't necessarily have to clear the whole place out, but one of the players, I think, they basically initiated it because they just up and surrendered, and because one of the PCs surrendered. Yeah, everybody else was kind of like, well, we weren't going to, but if you're going to surrender, now you're putting us in this bind. And so then everybody else surrendered. So
someone forced the hand.
Yeah, and to tell you the truth, if that hadn't have happened, if that one player hadn't have taken that step, I don't know. I think they might have continued to march in and try and just clear the place out. So
well, my friends took a different tack on this. On Dunwater, they again did an underwater approach, or a back, one of the backdoor entrances. They didn't go straight on into it. And by going in at the end of the adventure and working in reverse, they ran into stuff that they should have found out later.
Yes.
And when they saw the stuff that was in the back of the book, they're like, we better give up. And it made things go a lot quicker.
Yeah, because when you go in through the back door, it's kind of like it's not something. There's definitely something there that you're not expecting. That's for sure.
Yeah. But if you go in through the the main entrance, you're just it's just lizardmen.
Yes, it's very it's a very stereotypical, like, this is the beginning of a dungeon crawl.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So another question. This is the only Doing 2 is the only module I've ever seen. And if anyone out there, Jason and Gaetano and Carlos in particular, can tell me that it has an Oriental dragon in it. Okay? We talked about this in our Dragons episode back. Has a Yulong or Panlong, one of those two. A Panlong has a, right? Did they have to go?
It's not in there.
It's not.
I don't recall it.
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
This is one of the this is one of the things like that. Like I say, when they take the modules and they take these old modules and they modernize them, they cherry pick out a lot of the stuff that's in there, and because there's like Now that's a little bit probably too hard for what we're, or it's maybe a monster that hasn't been introduced as of yet.
Right. But
Like,
I will tell you, I mean, you all have the book, the appendix with all the new monsters and things in there. I'm perfectly satisfied with that book.
Okay. Take
Yeah.
your word for that, Mike. I mean,
Well,
respect
and I
their
think
opinion.
part of that too is they're molding it to more fit the overall feel of the adventure. You know, that's
Wow.
you know,
Well, a Bodak at that
Yeah.
level.
yeah, Bodak, yeah, they fight that because that's in the Abbey.
That
Oh, okay. It's in the Abbey. I
Very-
forgot. I was thinking the first three adventures. Okay.
No, that's in the
Okay.
Abbey.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and
Uh,
they wind up fighting that, and surprisingly, that the gay stuff doesn't really take anybody
I'm a big
out.
fan of the
Thunder.
Sahuagin.
Yes.
And in the
Okay. Yeah.
Monster Man, you get what, maybe 3 different types of Sahuagin, and in this one, now you got like a dozen different.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like Draconians are in Dragonlance, right?
Yeah.
There's so many of them you want to shoot yourself in the head. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say any of that stuff. You understand what I'm saying? It's a little bit too much, but hey, it's cool. Variety's a cool thing. Well,
it lets you scale. It lets you scale the adventure.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good. So, did you do? I guess have you done any ship combat with your people at all? Will?
No.
Okay.
I mean, the only ship combat that was done was when they, stormed the Sea Ghost. That was the.
Yeah, there is no ship-to-ship combat involved in that.
It's just
book.
recommended rules for it. They threw this whole book in there, is what you're saying? Parts of this book, because I mean, this has got to be the book. It's the same name, right?
Yeah, just a 5e version of it. I don't know how much of verbatim they take out of it. There are lots of different. When you go through in sections, you can tell where they're pulling verbatim and dropping in from the originals, and where there's reworked. But it's not bad. The one thing that I found funny, and this is I didn't go back and read the original modules. Like when you're going through and you're in the underwater portion of the final enemy, and you come across some treasure, and it's like, and there's a leather bag in the. It's like, yeah, because that's what they keep their treasure underwater. Sahuagin is like, well, what do you keep your treasure in? We keep it in leather bags, of course.
So Thunder, this book was published in '97, so that gives you an idea of it's 2e.
Yeah.
So
and there is a book called Storm Rack that was for
Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
Wasn't that Forgotten Realms?
I'm not sure. I think it was a generic 3.5
Okay.
that was took up a lot of the same rules, and I bet there's a bunch of.
There's a Pirates of the Fallen Stars too. That's Forgotten Realms. That's a black book, a black cover book, just like the Drow the Underdark is, which is another book that we utilized a lot, which had Forgotten Realms stuff in it, but a lot of Greyhawk stuff was in it too. You just needed to know. So, overall, Will, the experience of those adventures, what would you give it on a 1 to 10?
I would give it a solid 8.
That's good.
I would give it a solid
streamed.
8. Yeah. Like I said, like I can go through and I can say, well, this or that, but they're more nitpicks. They're not like this is a glaring hole in the adventure.
And you're going to get that.
Yeah. Like I said, the only thing that I think that they maybe didn't really take as much into consideration was the power shift of how much more powerful the Sahuagin are in 5th edition. And they maybe should have toned down some of the numbers to make it, granted, you're the DM, you can do that yourself.
20 numbers, 5e rules.
Yeah. So
thank you, Carlos.
It's Carlos.
Yeah, Carlos is the man. Twice over. But that was to tell you the truth. When it came right down to it, that was the only thing that really stood out as something that if you're going to run these adventures, to be mindful of it. Just be mindful of that. Is that
read them for sure?
Yeah, and those encounters become very deadly. Especially when you put them underwater. Now, there's different ways for people to get get an like a swim movement so that they don't have to have restrictions. They're in there, and I if I'm not mistaken, of the entire party, when they actually went underwater, there was only 2 of maybe 7 that didn't have that. So they had some restrictions on them. So,
No
but
free
even with
actions. Okay.
yeah, but even with having that, when they on the second level, the first encounter, it's one of the rooms that has like champions and sorceresses in it, and they're like just chilling out in this room, and they get slapped pretty hard in that room because essentially the priestesses moved back, the champions moved up, and and they were funneled towards them, and it was a much harder encounter than they thought it was going to be. And then they said, we got to go through this entire place, and this was just one room with 4 guys in it.
Yeah.
But that really made them rethink as well. So
Mike, what do you? Will gives it a strong 8. What are you giving it so far? I'm curious, since you're running it.
Well, I've only ran 2 5e published books so far. I ran parts of the Greyhawk stuff out of Yawning Portal,
Mhm.
which were all, for my current playing style, really good. And I think Ghost has a better Greyhawk adaptation because they actually put some lore into it. At least they try. So
yeah, they do. That's one thing I was pleased about.
I'm comfortable with an 8. There's got to be room for improvement.
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah. A 10 out of 10 would be if it has Greyhawk across the cover.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Greyhawk logo
Maybe a
on it.
9.
That boosts it up 1
Yeah.
point immediately. Just put the Greyhawk
Yeah.
logo on top of it. And
9 out of
it's
10
fine.
would be if it included a Greyhawk map.
Yeah, because we could.
How do you guys feel about the maps in that book?
The maps are, from a map technical perspective, they are good. They're Dyson have done a lot of the dungeon maps, and it's an awesome adaptation of the old school mapping that are not bad at all. And then there's some sleigh maps or something, I think. Hang on a second, I have to look at the actual.
I like the Dyson ones because
The Dyson are
Dyson
kind of
ones were really good.
are cool. Especially the ship maps and stuff are fantastic. So these are kind of his adaptation of the old old school mapping. So they are.
That's nice.
Yeah, they're first class.
Black and white.
They're
Really
really cool. Yeah, they make it feel old school for people who started gaming back in the 80s. They kind of love maps like that. But there's a couple of overland maps in here. I think he did one map that's supposed to show the general area, and that one I'm not that fond of, really.
Well, there's one part on there. Did you notice, Mike, how they have the way they situate like the map of Saltmarsh, and then it's like, okay, but this way's north, and it's like, what are you doing?
Oh, but it's this map, but that's part of publishing reality. You have to fit in a book page, and I like so this map is Mike Schley, and he's fantastic.
He's really good.
So,
yeah.
I give this map there has to be room for improvement, so I give it an 8, a solid 8, maybe a 9.
Is that a 476 map? Is that the early 476 or 576 map?
Hang on a second, I think it's the that I'm not sure of.
Will's got to go shortly. So
yeah, I think this is the as it is in the book. So
okay.
576.
So. Yeah. Will, why don't we take the final minutes you have here? And I really want to say thank you for doing this because you got to stream. Yeah. You got to stream in 17 minutes. What are you doing on your channel? Everything, but what particularly pertaining to Greyhawk, guys. Wait till you hear this. This is pretty cool.
So we just finished up the Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and I'd been getting there's a new rule system that I had stumbled across, and I'll show it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the low fantasy gaming. I don't know if that's
cool. Yeah, absolutely.
And I really like the rule set. It's a lot grittier. And so I reached out to Steve Grzycki, the author and the head of Pickpocket Press, and I was like, you know what? I'm thinking about running my group with this in Greyhawk, and he's like, oh, that'd be great. And so he's like, okay. So he's like, sure. And he sent me some books to give away and whatnot. He was, 100% behind it. I wasn't quite ready to start up the Bone March campaign, which is the next long-term sandbox campaign that we're going to do. and a lot of the fans that were watching Ghost of Saltmarsh are like, "Oh no, you're gonna leave." So what we did was we took a lot of the sidekicks in the NPCs because I introduced sidekicks into it when those rules had come out with 3D Essentials.
Sure.
So we took those characters and we are using the low fantasy gaming rules, and I'm running a game currently. It's called Into the Dreadwood.
Nice.
So it's essentially they're going up north from Saltmarsh into the Dreadwood. We just had our second episode of that yesterday.
New characters, correct?
No, these are actually old characters.
They're the Saltmarsh characters.
These are basically because there were certain using the sidekick rules, and then there was a creature companion that got turned into a character. So basically, what they're doing is the actual characters, the heroes of Saltmarsh, moved on. This is the B team. These were all their henchmen and sidekicks that were left in Saltmarsh. And somebody comes down looking for, hey, I need the heroes of Saltmarsh to help out with this thing that's going on in the Dreadwood. And where are the heroes? I'm like, well, they're gone, but we're the heroes too. We went with them.
That's
And
awesome.
so, yeah, so they recruit those guys to go up and take a look into what's going on into the Dreadwood. It's going to be a mini campaign. I'm not really sure how many sessions we're going to do it altogether. I'm not going to cut the story short. So I would say the very bare minimum that we'll do is like a 5 sessions. Currently, like I said, we've done the 2, but we're going to be on a 2-week break.
Yeah, because of the holidays.
So it'll pick back up in the first of the year, and then I'm not really sure how many episodes we'll have after that.
And where. I'm gonna link you once again on here, but tell us the time.
Gotcha.
Please.
Well, what is that? What's that Tuesday? I don't even. So you're gonna put me on the spot.
No, I'm just saying it's on Tuesdays, right? What time?
Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern is Greyhawk Adventure. Well, Wicked Studios presents Greyhawk Adventures: currently
January 7th.
The Dreadwood. January 7th.
You're not gonna be on New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve.
We're not on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. So January 7th we'll be back.
Just linked it above. That's Will's channel right there. Just go right to him. Give him a follow, please. Plus, what else you got on your channel?
Tonight I'll be doing. We're using D6 rules, the old Star Wars rules. We're going to do a sci-fi game called Sector 1. This is the first episode tonight.
Cool.
And the reason we're doing this is because Tales of a Savage Land, which normally runs on Wednesday nights, Uncle Tony, one of the players, he's in a play and he won't be available until February. So I'm like, well, I don't want to run it because I only have a 4-person crew on that. I was like, so let's just play something else. So we're going to play a little bit of that for a little bit. Saturday mornings we have Marvel Classic RPG.
You guys should watch that. I watch that every Saturday. I put it on. It's freaking hysterical, and it's just like it's 80s too, right? It starts in the 80s.
Yeah, it's set in 1985, New York City, using the advanced Marvel superhero rules from TSR from the 80s.
It's cool.
Yeah, so we have a lot of fun doing that one, and then in February we'll probably have. We don't have a concrete time for having the
I know. Just leave the door.
Vampire the Masquerade game back on, which we were running on Saturdays in the afternoon, starting at 2:00 on Eastern. But Saturday morning superheroes is 10 a.m. on same channel where you posted the Wicked Studios channel.
Please note that hopefully Saturday, February 15th, will have the 12 noon to 4 p.m. slot on our 20-hour fundraiser, Greyhawk fundraiser event. Okay, Carlos, who's on, will have the 4 a.m. slot, and Frank, who's on, will have the 4 p.m. slot. And like last year, we'll kick it off at the end, and then Marco's group, who will be at 8 a.m. this time, will be doing it on Jacob Jansen's channel to get all the crafters involved too. So we'll have that going on. We just wanted to do that shout out as well. We need to have a meeting about that shortly. Will, thank you, man. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I
yeah,
was gonna stay
yeah.
longer, so
It's
Good time.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate you sharing your your experiences with Saltmarsh, get an actual
Yep.
what happened on a stream with
and
it.
the
So
Ghost of Saltmarsh episodes are all up on YouTube, so you can go and watch all of them up there.
Cool.
It's on if you were to go on, just look up Atomic Peanut Butter, and you'll get them. That's the channel. That's Adam's channel that they're on. So
Oh, okay.
groovy.
one last thing, did Adam's TV show ever get kicked off? I know there was a pilot, right? The superhero
It's
one itself.
Oh, it's done. It's up there
Oh,
as well.
okay.
It's on YouTube. You can see that it's up there. He's got a Christmas one which drops this Friday, Haunted, which is basically it's a modern version of A Christmas Carol.
Oh, cool.
So if you like Seinfeld and you like A Christmas Carol, I'm pretty sure you would like this. So-
Awesome. Well, we'll have you back on here, and of course, Will is the only guest of every DM's roundtable I've had on Gavin. All four. He's done from the beginning,
You're
so
veteran. Yep.
he's like the regular. Even more than that.
right?
All right. Have fun tonight with your stream. We'll hop on and we'll probably raid into you tonight.
Excellent.
So.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Anna.
Hey,
Bye,
All
thank
Mike.
you.
Have a good one.
Really sooner
Bye.
than later.
So
Can I go? Can I go back to maps a little
No,
bit? I
absolutely.
found some gems in here, so I can kind of jump into the discussion a little bit.
Absolutely.
And Dyson, he had done every map that it seems like, except the town map of
All right,
Saltmarsh.
we're gonna go.
that
This is what I have
played-
up here.
And I'd like to point out that the town map was
That one?
actually released
exactly.
for the
That's-
book.
Yeah.
Do you remember that at Gary Con?
Oh yeah,
those-
I've seen that one pop
Yeah.
around long before the book came out. So yep.
That is
Yep.
Mike Schley. I know did
Mike
all the
Schley,
Age of Worms
and
stuff
his
too.
style really, I
Pops.
think, is perfect for maps of this kind of scale, so to speak. Town maps, city maps, and stuff. That's where I think his style fits in absolutely
Jason
perfect.
is asking if the town, he asked it again here,
Too
is
small
it too
for-
small for the population?
That's what I think too. But that is something that I think almost unanimously, almost all, as soon as you
Yeah.
get to town level, like more than 1,000 people, maps, fantasy maps generally don't seem to have anywhere near as enough buildings or clutter or anything for that, because you have so many auxiliary building apart from the buildings that people actually live in, so to speak.
Clutter
towns.
is a bad thing for minimalization for D&D role playing. It is. I mean,
Yeah.
Free City Greyhawk's an exception because it's so well
Yeah.
detailed, but clutter's
you
just
can-
bad.
Yeah, but what you can do is that you will make a version that looks the part, and then you make a simplified version if you just want to point out the
That's true.
locations, and
Uh,
you make like triangles or something on it, or whatever on it. So Meldin had some Dennis Tetro. He had some great ideas of that he did. Well, there you had an example of it
Oops,
there.
sorry. Let me flip back
Yeah.
real quick. I was
Yeah.
going to talk about that then and now
Yeah.
because
But
that was
I
in
have a
an
couple of-
article. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the example of, here is the Dyson map of the region here, and this is an example where I think Dyson's lovely style kind of don't work that well from a cartographic technical perspective. I don't like this map that much because all of the things, if it's the haunted house and the large town or small city of Seattle, have exactly the same symbol. And to me, it's kind of weird. I want to have more information on the
And there's yours.
actually, yeah, when you actually can see it. But that's just a difference in style as well. So I know I'm partisan when I talk about this, and there's large areas that are just white. There's no information whatsoever. But on the other hand, now I want to, when I criticize Dyson's style a little bit and his map, now I want to show another map here. So I'm going to just
Let me get back to you.
get back the camera here, and on page, for the ones who have book 167, there is a town map, and it's the town of Landgrave's Folly or whatever. Yeah, the Styes. So I have to.
Okay, so it's for the Styes adventure.
Yeah. So this map, all of a sudden, then I think that Dyson's style is absolutely awesome. And just like me, I'm a large overland mapper, so that's where my normal style fits in the most, and what I'm most skilled of, so to speak, and skilled at. But so the different things. suit and different styles suits different maps. But on the other hand, you have to produce them fairly quickly. And I work a lot on commission, so I know all the pitfalls and and the stuff you get into.
Yeah.
So I have definitely produced a lot of maps that are way worse than any of the ones in here, and get paid for it. So I totally get why the maps
Carlos.
look like
See it,
this.
Carlos? Well, yeah, Dyson has a maze-looking style. He has that in
Yeah.
his dungeons too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there is, and I must give the book some extra credit because
Okay.
there are so many maps in there. Dyson has been so productive. There are tons of these little sketches on ships, buildings, various locations and stuff. So there are way more of these maps and illustrations that most of the old school adventures didn't have. Meaning you had 10 adventure paths back in the day had this many
Yeah.
maps combined. So
You know,
I
it's
must give
interesting
a lot
that
of credit
they
for that.
This might.
found, you know, the U series 3 adventures, and then they found 3 or 4 more other nautical themed coastal adventures.
Through 150 dungeons, it's not hard to find them, right? I mean,
Well, and so then they got that theme going, and I think it's a great book. And I'm skeptical, as I usually am. I'd be interested to see how they follow this book up,
Yeah.
because you could go through those 100 dungeons, and I don't know if you could get a better 7 adventures together like this.
But
well,
what? Oh, go on.
I want to say one thing, okay? And I've been Mr. Positive the whole night. All right, give me one new adventure, one,
Yeah.
just one.
Yeah.
These are all retreads, every single one.
Yeah.
Please, I mean that's my one beef. Just give me one. I
But,
would have been, you know, so.
Yeah, but I understand why they did that, because when I talk to a lot of people, Greyhawker and gamers and stuff for conventions or whatever, they one of the questions, and that seems to be a common thing, is that, oh, so I played in Greyhawk, I played Temple of Elemental Evil, I've been to Hamlet, I've been to Orlane, and so on and so forth. So there is a large group of gamers that defines their gaming career by the modules they play through or run, so to speak. So I can totally get it why you want to do it, and it's kind of safe around, and it's also probably a way to lure people like us 3 because we bought the book.
Yeah.
So it's probably a great business decision to make it that way. But I totally agree. I want to see new adventures. I want to see new source books and stuff like that. That's what would invest me way more.
Well, even
into
being an old Greyhawker, I had only ran Saltmarsh. Out of those 7 adventures, I had only ran Saltmarsh.
Yeah, and I haven't run any
The
of
rest
them
I'm
except
happy with.
Hamlet. That's the only adventure
I ran
bought them
every
all.
one but the Styes.
Yeah.
Every one. I remember Tamara's Fate distinctly. It's a very good adventure on its own.
Yeah. Now I need to look that adventure up. Because
Yeah,
I'm not really
I
sure
got the
where that
dungeons all
money-
scrolling through right here, so they're all there. Up. Shoot, where's my notes? Each. One sec. The 4 adventures occur in the following. We got dungeon 34, dungeon 106, 121, and 123. Not in that order. I think it goes. I think it goes 34 for the first one, then 121, then 106, then 123. I think the Styes is in. I think that's the order. So, but they are. Hey, Bill, what's going on, man? Yeah, Bill. So Bill and Master Crafter puts, there are so few new ideas coming out from big companies that they just refresh something that was already successful. True. And David on DM's Guild, that's cool that people are putting out stuff. We're talking about, you know, official WotC content is where I wanted to come with that. Safe is, I guess, okay. Just I mean, it's a monstrous book. It's very well done. The new maps are a huge touch, great touch to it. There's great artwork in it. It kind of, the entire storyline makes sense, right, Mike? You'd say the whole flow.
It's like part adventure, part source book too.
Yeah.
Because there is rules, there is adventures in it. I think it's a good combination that none of the other 5e books has to this point. I don't think.
It's not a 1 to 20 slog through like some of them are, right? You know,
Right,
and that's a good thing. Now, you know, for us guys who are never going to run 5e, and I don't say never, but probably not for me and my group. But you know, I will play in it like with Brian DMs. But I just original content it's kind of like movies, like The Mandalorian. That's new content, right?
Yeah.
It's something different, and
Yeah.
everyone's excited about it. So give us something a little different.
Sort of new
Can
content.
I ask a
Yeah,
question to you
absolutely.
guys? Yeah, because when I looked at that map, the Styes, anyone knows where that is?
Let me see.
I missed something. There's a town map and there's a name, the Styes, and I don't know where it is. And I need to know that. So
Styes is, I think, the name of a neighborhood.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's like Shacktown in Greyhawk.
in what
It's
city or
supposed to
what?
be a district within a city.
One sec.
And okay,
they
they can be
recommend-
any city. You can just put that in any port.
No, I
that
think it was
you
a
feel like.
specific town, wasn't it?
They recommend Primp.
Yeah.
Ah, that's why they primp someone else. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Explains it all. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Yep. Because I heard someone said that there were places they were placed in primp, and that kind of makes sense because you go from Saltmarsh, you go to Uskern or Uskern or however you pronounce it, and then you go to primp.
Go,
Perfect. Yep,
Jason.
makes
Go to
sense.
163, chapter 8.
I think Uskarn sounds very Forgotten Realmsy to me.
Yeah, but Uskern is a place that was introduced
Mhm.
in, I think it was
one-
one of Paizo's adventure paths. I think Uskern was
And
introduced.
yeah,
Yes.
164. At least they have
Yeah,
about the originals in
there
here
is
too.
there's a little island next to it that was been part of. It was in one of the Dungeon magazines, I think. That when
Yeah.
So
Right.
there is. I need to go on my campaign map because the text is so small, so I didn't put it on the official map.
Yeah.
So hang on a second. Yeah.
It's
I think it's from the Dungeon magazine that was published not by TSR but by Paizo, but I need to check that,
Right.
double check it. But it's the Firewatch Island. That adventure was in the Dungeon magazine before, and then they added to it and made a new version of it.
Firewatch Island, that's what I'm talking about basing
Yeah.
off of
Mhm.
Land.
Yeah,
Because I just
and
feel like
Uskan was mentioned there.
wasn't
and
Firewatch
as-
Island in isn't that the one I'm thinking of that was in the Fury or Shieldlands on the main isle?
No, it's in Nyrond.
Oh, it's in Nyrond. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Nyrond on the coastline of Nyrond, not far from Nesserport. So
So
Nessermouth. Sorry, yep, Nessermouth.
when you go back to the originals and they're classic, and if you're a good DM, you realize one thing, and I guess they did in the books. Yes, you can't run these one after another. You can run U1 and U2, but you get to U3, there's no way. You'll get slaughtered, right? So you have to fill
is there you have to go out and level up the character?
Yeah, it
somewhere else
goes.
and then come back to it.
Yeah, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, then 3 to 5. I mean, you do
Okay.
not want to
that
go
is
into
a little weird.
third level. You do not want to go into this. There's no
Okay.
way.
No.
So you need to have a party of average party levels of 5 in.
I would say
edition.
5 is. I mean, it is all
Yeah.
underwater, which means your whole party. I
okay.
mean,
You
there's.
need
I think there's a
spells
helm of
and
underwater action in there somewhere, if I recall. You get and some other things, but you still, even if you're water breathing, you're still slowed.
5e has an abundance of rules or items that can and spells that can allow you to
Okay.
underwater.
To negate it.
Yeah,
Well, in 1E, 2E, you're really shit out
probably.
of luck. Yeah. So I always have to tell this story when I'm running U3. We had Bill. Bill, you're still on. We had one of our old players from the early 90s. His name was Wayne. And Wayne was the guy who would buy the adventures ahead of time before I ran them, right? So we're going through U3. And we get done, and the group is like, "We're successful. We're gonna head out." And he goes, he says out of the blue, "But we haven't killed the 6-armed Sahagwin prince yet."
So he was reading them before he handed them
Yes.
over to you.
And so I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking, all right, I'm gonna get him. So there's sharks all in that room, right, floating all over the place. I don't know if it is like that in 5e, but they're all over the place.
Probably.
So we have my other guy who doesn't play anymore, who moved to Virginia Garnett. Both his characters die in that last fight. One permanently gets eaten by a shark, and the shark goes away. So he loses 2 characters in that. Wayne doesn't lose any. After I'm trying to target Wayne from doing this, yeah. So Garnett gets both his characters killed, but they got okay. You want the 6-armed Sahagwin prince here? Yeah. So there you go. So those are the days.
Story and Shahagan Prince.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny you should bring those up. So when I play, I don't use Roll20 or anything. I still use
Paper.
mats and
That's fine.
whatnot, and I
awesome.
use counters. I don't even use minis. I use counters,
Mhm.
and I drew my own counters for the 6-arm princess.
Cool.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
I have the one figure, and I don't know if he has 4 or 6 arms on him that came out. I think it was a D&D mini, like that 2000 series before Pathfinder came out with some of them too, and they call them something different because they can't call them Sahagwin. But so this, anyone have any questions out in the audience? And then I want to go on to 2 things. I want to talk about the map changes, especially with Anna, what she did, and how she did it, and then after that, I really want to talk about the ship combat because Mike, I know you've digested it pretty well. Correct? You really
Sure.
you okay? Sound like a plan? Since this is
We'll
the
give it a
time
shot.
Brian would have been on now and would have talked about his campaign, but he had his wife had an unfortunate accident. So let's see. I'm finding a lot of 5e has been overly accommodating, particularly with a huge number of archetypes and how. So I don't have a reference point to say yay or nay, but I will say that my guys, as Bill pointed out earlier, live in 1E, 2E because we've been there for 40 years and we're not going to 5E. I think there's a happy medium that you can find if you're playing 5E where you can make up your own classes. Like Will took the Guardian from first edition and made it into a 5E archetype or whatever you call it. What do you call it? Different paladins things that in 5E. Not like a prestige class, but it's got a term to it. Oh boy! So I forget what
That's the archetypes.
is. It archetype? Is it just archetype?
Like when you get to 3rd level, you go
Okay.
pretty much into your specialty in 5e.
Yeah, Jason Zavota says 5e is a gateway to AD&D. It probably it is a gateway in for people. It's easy to play for new players to hop in, which is great. I mean, that's what we're all looking for new generations of players.
Yep.
So yeah, all right. So Thunder, I will talk about that. I will talk about naval combat after we talk about maps. I promise you on that, because I'll tell you what we do to really simplify it. So
Can't wait to hear.
yeah, it's easy. It's very simple. So map wise, Anna, let's go to and please, anyone has questions, Mike, please give your input on this. What made you go from this? Now notice my Dun Mounds is on this map because I took this from my map that you gave me for
Okay.
Holes.
Yeah.
All right, so this is Carlos and my joint adventure. You can see the Dun Mounds are on there north of Bale Keep on the Duntide River. Now I noticed a lot of things, particular the Viscounty of Salemore is a lot more wooded. Burl's much further south, and you've really detailed the area of all of Saltmarsh. So here are the changes that have been made, that Anna made. So
Yeah.
why don't you go over what you've done here? And
First of all, I had to change so the forest, the Dreadwood goes way further south in the Ghost of Saltmarsh. It's way more detailed because and I think it was simply they wanted to show where the Dreadwood were, but they only had a map that covered a few miles. So they just painted in the forest to be on that map, whether it was on that map before. And so it was one of these publishing decisions you have to simply forced to do in order to make it kind of simple to understand and just simple to use at the table. And I get that because when I do commission work, it's a lot of compromises you have to do like that. So it's perfectly understandable. So I just needed to adjust my overland map to show that. So that way I kept the river system and stuff that I kind of just put in there from the get-go and just made the Dreadwood kind of go south all the way down to the coastline almost to match the
nothing wrong with that.
Oh, okay.
No, it's
so
not,
you just extended the Dreadwood into that area between the roads.
to match the Dyson map that he did for the Ghost of Saltmarsh. Yes. So that's that was the reason for that. And actually, I'm not really, and it's kind of sad. One of the things that disappeared was that little thorp or that was in there that kind of the dun mounds that kind of disappeared because there was not enough room. So I simply promoted the things that were mentioned in Ghost of Saltmarsh and stuff, and some of the other stuff that was added. That probably some of it are living Greyhawk stuff. So on a more detailed map, then the smaller stuff can be added in again. But if you have a town and a little thorp in the same spot, and then the town will be, then I will simply say that little house or inn or whatever it is like 2 miles out of town, and the town symbol is like 10 miles across.
Okay.
So on a map on this scale, small things disappear and large things have prerogative, and they will fill up the map. So if you do a town area map of Burley that shows the 10 miles across town, then you can put that little thing back in there if you want to. So, and it's also problematic because we have 3 eras of Greyhawk stuff. We have the original 1E, really old stuff that came out in the early 80s or mid 80s. And then we have the second wave, around 2000, 2005 with LG and the restart in 3.5. And now we have the 5E stuff. So there's like 3 kind of waves of publications, and even if they did a good job at rehashing and going back to the old stuff, there's some things that compromised that were made, and especially the Living Greyhawk, the 3.5 period, a lot of that was just ditched, and I had to kind of work some of it back into my map and keep some of it, like the town of Seaton, for instance, or Seaton. I don't know exactly where it came from, but it was very prominent in the LG campaign and stuff. So I had to make sure. But it's on the Dyson map, so thankfully they kept it, I think. So it was there, but it was not something that I think was mentioned in the first wave of publications. Then Seaton didn't exist.
But you do have a very, very small location on there. The haunted houses on the map, which I found
Yes,
cool.
yeah, and that one breaks my general rule because if the thing doesn't have a name, I just put the location on it and don't call it anything. It
Right.
needs to be the manor of so and so or something. The haunted house is not meaning it's the same thing that a lot of people, they are looking for the adventure location spots, meaning there's a town and then it's called the whatever the title of the adventure in the module. No, I name it for what it's named in. If that town is in the adventure and has a name in the adventure, that's the name that goes on there, not the name of the adventure. And this is one of the rare exceptions to that rule because there is no name on the haunted mansion as far as I could find. I have skimmed through the text 4 times, the old one, and probably twice in the new one, and I haven't found. So if anyone knows the name of that house, I would be so happy to have it, because then the haunted house can actually get a proper name. It could be the manor of so and so or something.
So, Burl, so much further south. Is it just because the map in the book is that way? I mean, I was curious about that.
Yeah, well, I had an existing map, and I didn't want to screw it up too much. So it's kind of a I mashed it all together. So it's kind of a synthesis of the old, the Living Greyhawk, and the 5e Ghost of Saltmarsh. So it's I had to make compromises to so it fit in, so to speak. So just like the map, the Dyson logo map and stuff, it's also a compromise because it needs to fit on the actual.
Oh my gosh!
Yay!
Happy holidays! Look at that! Leonard Lakofka has joined us.
Hi, Leonard. Thank you so much for the Christmas card. I got it today.
Leonard, what's going on? Can you hear us?
No.
Not yet. We're working on it.
I saw Liam and I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Can you hear us, Leonard? This is a surprise. He's working on it.
He's working on it. Yep.
He's working on it. Can you hear me, Leonard?
Yep.
So circus boy, I would give Monster Manual is good, like second after Player's Handbook. I mean, the Dungeon Master's Guide, I don't know. I would go. I when I was a kid, I liked looking through all the monsters, so I would go Player's Handbook, then a Monster Manual next. Yes, it is a Festivus miracle. Gitaro's got another question for you,
Yes.
Anna.
Yep.
How detailed do you feel it necessary to population support of how much to towns to cities? It takes so much support from smaller villages to support towns and cities. So
yeah. Yeah, I totally agree because and on my campaign map,
Leonard's
when I
working on it.
adventure in an area, I go to great length to add all that supporting infrastructure in the countryside, meaning a large city or metropolis will probably have dozens of little villages, small towns, and stuff that do
Yeah.
all the servicing to the big economy. The problem is that they aren't visible or mentioned or anything in the official
Mm.
content. So that means that I don't put them there. I simply assume
Mm.
that others need to put them in there for their campaign. I do it for my own campaign. I flesh out and I've added hundreds of places on my campaign map. So
Whoops.
that's something that is sadly missing in the official content. They are mentioned here and there. Like there is a good example from the gray city of Greyhawk area. That is a town that is called 3 Mile Mill that is mentioned in the Gourd books. And so I simply say, oh, that's a little town that is 3 miles along the river, that is 3 miles outside of city of Greyhawk. I put that on my map along with a whole bunch of others, but they are not on any official maps. They're just hinted at in various sources, sometimes named, sometimes just mentioned as villages and hamlets that you ride through on the way somewhere. And usually they're not mentioned in adventures, they are mentioned in fiction of various sorts. Like the Gourd books are full of interesting little things, like Tusham, a small little town up on the borderlands north of Shendel, for instance. It's one of these. It wasn't on any map, but it plays a whole chapter is in the Gourd books when they kill a big wild boar is plays out in the town of Tusham, and so there is a lot of the content is there, but it's not on the maps. And I also get that because when I do commission work, no one tells me all this stuff to go on there. I have to often go out and I have to read the sources and drag it out of the designers to get all these little details because they don't realize that it should be on
Oh,
the map
keep on
because it's
putting it
just
over there.
text. Yeah.
I'm trying to help Leonard because he can't hear us, nor can we
Yeah,
hear him.
yeah. So I babble in the background, but
Yeah,
I hope
that's good.
that answered your
So I'm
question,
typing stuff and
Gaetano.
zoom.
Yeah.
This is. I didn't even talk to Leonard. This is
No, but this
completely.
is wonderful.
Yeah,
It's so
if he can get
wonderful
on.
to
So
see you again. I hope we can get the microphone
yeah, hope
to
we can
work.
get it
So,
up
yeah,
there. So
yeah,
and because he's obviously his Zoom is not. We haven't made no changes because Gavin and Legends of the Lord we use the same
yeah.
connection. So it's not that there's any changes. My guess is that his mic is not. There's a configure issue between each.
This is
So
a shame. I've
normally we test it, but when Leonard comes on the show on Gavin,
Yep.
we test beforehand.
yeah,
Yep.
So
So
no,
we'll
that's
we'll
chance.
see here. Yeah.
yeah, we'll
I've
see.
But
never
yeah.
met Leonard before, and I feel like I still haven't.
Oh, yeah. But
What?
Gaetano, I think that was a great question. That was a wonderful question, and something that I think that should be put to designers and map makers and stuff should be way more aware of it so they actually flesh out the setting. The problem is that you need 4 times as many or 5 times as many place names and stuff, and that takes design time and it takes effort to put in on maps and stuff. But it's something that is sadly lacking in the official kind of mechanics and all the crunch of a setting. It's in the fluff. It's usually in descriptions and in the about the adventure kind of thing, but it
Yeah.
seems to not make it into the actual statistics and maps and so on. That it seems to go missing. So that's another reason why reading the Gourd books is so good, because you get tons of this little. I probably put 100 place names from the Gourd books on the map that aren't on the official maps anywhere, but they are mentioned in the novels, and some of them plays a prominent role. If you have almost a whole chapter dedicated to you by Gary himself, written the one of the first Gourd book or the second Gourd book. I think it's the second one, the Artifact of Evil that he was in that one.
So let's hope.
Yes, Jason, you have a good point. Steal from real world historical maps. Yes, that's a lot of the inspiration for me is from medieval Europe town plans and the countryside around Italian city, Renaissance and medieval cities, for instance. It's perfect. So to have a vacation week in northern Italy is perfect for fantasy map making and building campaigns.
So I can't talk to. Let's see, I'm trying to tell him put arrow over
Yep.
bottom
Yeah, we can
of
tell that
Zoom
yeah. Jay
screen.
and Leonard are working hard on
I'm
fixing
trying to
the
get him up,
technical issues. So yep.
because he can't
So
hear us as
so
well.
Trying.
yeah.
So map wise, were there any other major? I mean, Burl is a complete move, right? And then you added all the woods, and I
Yeah.
don't want
And
to switch off the screen because I want Leonard to see us all.
oh yeah. And
So
it's kind of what is interesting to me is that they kind of something that was mentioned in the text but not on the map before was the Long Spear Trail and the
okay,
Dreadwood Road, the roads that leads to one leads westward and to the Viscounty of Numior, that is kind of almost Tolkienish for me, but and then you have the road through the Dreadwood that goes up north, and then there's a coastal road. These roads are mentioned and ruled put in on the map, and I love that fact. So they really made good. They put the Viscounty of Salinmore in its place that way. The problem is that they don't talk about the rest of Keelan, but actually they put the connecting dots on the map. So I
Someone did
must
some
give.
research.
Yep, exactly. They've done their research, and I must give Dyson a
Mhm.
really good credit for
I was gonna
picking that up.
say, as 5e goes, this is definitely the best Greyhawk service they've done so far.
Yeah,
Oh,
You
yeah.
could feel they tried to get lore in there and the maps somewhat to work. So
So the bar's next. I didn't realize the bar was on the stream too of me chatting to Leonard. He's deprived.
no, but this is
That's
we'll
pretty funny.
see.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's an arrow.
Yeah, the mute button has a little thing on the side there, so it's. But it is a tricky software, so yeah.
So
So yeah.
Burl.
So hi, and that is Mike. There you go.
Yep. So we have to have text.
Yes.
But it's so anymore now when we're into the
Burl's like a
mappy
city,
bits
isn't
here.
it? Jason's voice says it's more of a. It's like large. Burl's like the second largest city in that area. Beside, like it's bigger than Saltmarsh, isn't it?
It's no, well, that I think that depends on the sources.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not mentioned in the earlier material at all. I think it's something that was introduced somewhat in the 3.5 LG area and then it was just a village, and then all of a sudden it's a big city or large. So they and that's another interesting thing is they use the terms interchangeably. There is no kind of there's no standardized way of Pathfinder. I must give Paizo credit because they standardize the size of things. When they talk about a village, they say it's this many people. When they talk about a small town, is this many. A large town is that many, etc., etc. Wizard of the Coast never. They can talk about villages, towns, and cities, and it's just a label they put on it. It's there is no official. So it's like, oh, the village of so and so, and that's what it's called. But there is no statistics or no crunch somewhere. So I must give Paizo. That's why I use the Paizo numbers from the Paizo era, because they had official statistics, and when they call it a village, that means that there is so and so many people there. So that's why I
2005 3E DMG2 version. Is that what they're talking about in the Saltmarsh then and now in the Earth Journal? Is that what you're
that
saying?
might be, but
Okay.
it's several of these places are being called a village back in the day, and it's a tiny little village, which means to me that there's like 50 people there, and all of a sudden when they have something now being published now that is supposed to be earlier in the
I think
history,
labels
it's a
in the
big city.
real world are a little weird, Anna. Like
Yeah.
where I live, we are a city. The next town over north of me is bigger. It's a village.
Okay.
I have no idea why.
Yep, but that's the So when they describe
I
things,
can hear you.
There's Monio.
I'm only on for a couple of minutes.
Hey,
anyway.
Leonard, can you hear us now?
Wonderful.
Just
All
want to
right.
know I'm not dead yet.
Awesome. Hey, good to see you. All right.
Yeah, good to see you.
All
Thank
righty.
you so much for the Christmas card.
Yeah, thank you so very
Right.
much for the
I have
that and
it
all the
here.
stuff.
Yes.
Yes, mine's
Mhm.
downstairs. Thanks,
Yep.
Leonard, for all, and for
There you
all the
go.
Yep.
Dwarven Forge and the figures too. Thank you so very much. I guarantee you'll see them. We'll be utilizing them shortly. We're talking about Saltmarsh then and now. I know you were talking about getting this book. Did you ever get this in 5e?
Saltmarsh, no.
Okay, I know you were talking about that. Did you ever run the U series of modules?
The which ones?
The Saltmarsh, the Sinister Street
No,
Fleet. No, you did
did
not.
not.
Did not either. Okay. Well, we're talking about the area of the map too, which is in Keeland. I know that wasn't really your area of expertise, but and what do you think about what's going on in the world of them actually doing publications now but they're generic setting it, but it still has the Greyhawk feel and flavor to it. I mean,
Well, it all depends on the year they're assigning to.
that's a good question. Yeah, we believe
I
this
pretty
is
much stayed 575 to 577,
okay.
but I did 5 modules in that year range.
Well, we believe this to be 576, so that fits right into it.
That's what I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
supposed
got
to
to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's good.
So
So
that's where I'm setting the what do you call it? Laakeel. I'm setting that, I think, at 576.
Mm-hmm. And that will go on the official map when it comes out. I haven't put it on the map that I've released yet to others, but it will be. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
so
Well,
awesome.
I've got Josh Pop doing a edit, and
Okay, yeah.
Josh pops around a little bit, so he's looking at both the adventure and the town, and the town is the adjunct to the adventure. The adventure was the point, but I decided that to have a town of some size so that players could dice up their
Whoops.
characters if they
I
wanted
did that.
to.
My bad.
I needed
Did
to
it
do
again.
that work. So I put whatever it is, 113 people, 115 people in there.
Yeah.
And that takes a hell of a lot of time.
Well, your level of detail, especially. I mean, they're talking about 2,000 people in Saltmarsh, and we're trying to figure out where they all
well,
are.
It's
It's
just wait for hell to freeze over for that then.
You detail
Well, yeah.
everyone. Yeah.
Exactly. They don't detail more than 10 people, and then they have the generic city guards. If you
Right.
cause trouble and go on a murder hobbing spree,
Well,
these are the people that come
Croton
in
has a
and
fair
hunt you
number
down.
of people. I don't remember. I think I got over 1,000 in Croton.
That's a
But
lot.
that took a crap load of work.
Yeah.
So, by the way, Leonard, this is Mike Bridges. He's known as Greyhawk
Hey, Leonard.
Mike. He has the Greyhawkery blog on the web. So, if you've ever seen that, that's where he is
I'm
from.
just
Yep. This
And
fantastic blog.
just wanted
Yep.
to make that
putting out all kinds of content for a while now.
introduction. That introduction. So we had another guest who was supposed to be on who his wife had an issue, and Leonard magically read my mind and hopped on.
Yep. Mhm. Perfect.
we needed a guest tonight. So
That's
Well,
awesome.
my health has been in a handbasket for about the last month.
Mm.
So I'm suffering from this and that and the other thing. And I was walking 25 miles a week, and now I'm lucky to get in half a mile.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's not good.
Good to see you. Yep.
What
the
you've done
chronic-
for me is very appreciative. I really appreciate
Yes. Mhm.
Well,
it. With the stuff
I
you
have
said.
this big dentist appointment where they're doing a big bunch of junk and pulling out a few teeth and doing cleaning and this and that and the other thing, and then physical therapy starting tomorrow. So it's all. I'm not dead.
That's so wonderful to hear. Yep. Mhm.
There's been a couple of times I'm wondering about, am I going to make Christmas? But luckily that thought passed very quickly. At any rate, I didn't mean to interrupt what you guys.
This is
did.
awesome, and it's
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
This is
Hey,
Leonard. Come on, this is like without only if Gary Gygax came on would it be more. You know what I'm saying? This is
Yeah,
awesome.
that's the
You know,
that's the only thing that could beat this.
and I appreciate you being conciliatory with my issue with Gary Kahn. Thank you so very much for your comments on that too.
Oh yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on there, and I can't believe that Luke would let it all go to hell in a
Well,
handbasket.
kind of outgrown the venue, I think. So
Yeah.
they're
have.
between a rock and a hard place. So they just have to either limit the number of people who can come, or raise the price and simply price out and that way limit it, or move to a bigger venue that they don't have
Which would
some
not
sort
be
of
fair.
lottery or by renown or how many times you've been there or some other exclusivity, or raise the price and price out a lot of people or move somewhere else. Those are probably the only options. And
Do we have any idea what population they've registered?
It's got to
I
be
think it's about
2,500 to 3,000.
Yeah, I think it's about
Oh
3,000.
yeah, they're getting
So
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But I appreciate you making that comment. Thank you so very much. You know, I had to vent, and today was the vent day, and that's so I haven't written that much since in a long time, and I just need to say that.
I've
And
spoken to Luke a few times,
Mhm.
not many, but I know Luke has a lot of integrity and tries to keep control of everything.
Oh yeah, I
But
don't.
you know, he's an army officer of some kind,
Yeah,
our army, I think, and he is called upon to do a great number of things.
yeah,
So trying to hold all of this together.
yeah. And it's a
How
good
many
problem to
assistants
have.
he's got, I have no idea.
Yeah. And it's a good problem to have. It's simply he's now punished because he done such a good job getting the convention so big and popular. So then you have to pay for it, so to speak. That's the So it's
And he was very conciliatory to me as well, and I appreciated that. I just had to say what was on my mind. It made me feel a little better, you know, about the situation. But Leonard, you know that you can hop on anytime you want.
Yes,
you have carte blanche like this. I mean, seriously, to hop on and give your 2 cents whenever.
Yep.
You know, hopefully in
the,
holidays.
the stuff from hell is supposed to be showing up pretty soon too.
The stuff from what?
Well, there's a bunch of stuff from hell. Oh, but I don't know if you're getting that. I think the hell stuff is going to.
I got the Dwarven Forge stuff. I'm ecstatic. So.
Well, no, this is Dwarven Forge.
Yeah. It's okay. Spread the
one
wealth.
They did, the one they did this year, but I don't think they're actually doing production to be. It's coming out soon, and I think I'm sending it to CAFCON.
Cool. That's
so you got your bunch, and
I got my bunch, and I really appreciate it. So why don't you tell everyone about your addiction?
I keep staring at those 11 or 19 little pieces. And I just can't find the equivalent piece where you can see what the hell you're looking at.
Yeah, they're little books, they're little pieces of treasure, they're little like baubles.
Right. And they look nice on tables and and all that.
Yeah. So basically what happened was Leonard sent me some Dwarven Forge. It's the Dwarvenite version. You know how I have the old stuff? I have the old resin. He sent a bunch of Dwarvenite rooms and some miscellaneous stuff unopened because Leonard has an addiction to Kickstarters, right?
What a wonderful
So
the rest of us. It's
I somehow keep myself below $500, but I get caught up in it.
Yeah.
And they really run a good campaign where they keep adding stuff and adding stuff and adding stuff and adding stuff and building. So they go to $1 million on the first day or the second day.
Yeah, like
while I set a goal of 100,000. So that's really good for them. I like their stuff. Their material is wonderful. But yeah, I have some of the old stuff too. A lot of which is sitting in my casita, which at one point in time I have to dispose of. But that's another long story.
Well, good thing Anna's not too far away from you. She can come down and take some stuff off your hands.
Yeah, I would love to. I'll come over as soon as you feel well
what
enough.
I'm thinking. You know that I raised that issue once before that if you and Luke could show up in January or February, I would rather
set a date and when
it.
you want us and want me, and I'll pop over. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll work all that out because the day will come when I crap out, and I've seen too many people just suddenly crap out and they'll make no preparations. So I'd rather make prep and do something than not make prep. But at any rate, I'm hearing the dinner bell going off in the background.
Leonard,
So-
thanks for hopping on, man. That was
thank you so
awesome.
much. Yeah.
That really was. So I'll talk to you. You know, we'll keep on communicating via Facebook Messenger and everything. Just stop in anytime.
All right.
Have a good one.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
Merry Christmas and
Happy
Happy New Year to you too.
Yep.
Thanks.
Bye.
That's it.
And I have a familiar.
Well, that
issue.
was unexpected.
Yes, that was very unexpected. Yeah, and I just have to pop out for 2 minutes. My familiar needs to.
No problem.
Yep.
So everyone on there with the Dwarven Forge, I want to show you something, okay? So I don't have the pictures that Leonard's. I promise you in 2020, everything that Leonard gave us and gratis, and this is not a cheap amount of stuff, we are going to use, okay? So just note that I appreciate everything that Leonard has done, but this is tomorrow night's Dwarven Forge that's going to be on my table for the end of Into the Depths of the Sus, all right? I'm going to throw that out there, all right? That is old school Dwarven Forge. This is the resin. Now, I got some other things inside that are not, but a lot of stuff is still. So that is Dwarven Forge you will see on tomorrow night's stream, okay? And I'm going to incorporate some of the Leonard stuff. Some of the treasure I may still incorporate into tomorrow night as well that he sent me. So and it's really nice of Leonard to hop in on here. All right, ship combat. Well, that was a good time slot filler.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah, that was wonderful. Yep.
Yeah, Frank, I love the old stuff. It's big. I can do whatever I want with it. I can customize it. You know, so Casey, man, I don't know. I could never get through my. I could never do that. So, ship combat is one of those things that there's rules everywhere. All the, you know, they're all over the place. There's publications out there. We could do an entire episode on ship combat, right, Mike? We could, of all the different types of rules. So
that's something you should have for one of your Gabbins.
Well,
perfect.
Except for when I do it, it's completely basic and simple. So, Mike, why don't you discuss what you think of the part that they did in here? I know you went through it a little bit, so.
Well, I haven't used the stuff in Ghosts per se, because most of the stuff besides the Sea Ghost is just you getting transportation. One thing I am interested in using is how they keep all the characters busy doing stuff.
Okay.
The ships have actions, you know, weapon, movement. There's bound to be a role for everyone on that ship, which was always a problem before. You know, some people just felt like passengers on a ship.
Okay.
Now, as to combat, they have stat blocks on these ships for your for the basic stuff. They don't really break it down a whole lot. I like that. Much like in 3rd edition, these ships have damage thresholds of some kind. So you're not going to be able to shoot arrows and sink it.
The ships have strength, dex, and con.
And they have hardness and stuff. At least in 3.5 Pathfinder, they have hardness and stuff. So you need to do a certain amount of damage before you even can start doing damage to it, so to speak.
They have creature capacity, cargo capacity, travel pace, strength, dex, con. So that's interesting. Hull, the armor class of the hull, and the control helm.
Yeah, they have a regular stat block like any monster would have.
So like a galley has 500 hit points and a damage threshold of 20.
Yeah.
So basically, you got to do a lot of damage.
Yep.
To fully destroy a galley.
What's the damage threshold of 20? To puncture it in one shot?
That means you have to do 21 damage to do one.
Then you would do 1 damage
it's
per
like damage
attack.
resistance.
Holy
schmoles!
Yeah.
Yep.
So you do the math there. I don't know.
Yep. That will be
you're not going to one shot it.
So you need to get a giant and some big boulders or something like that, so you can kind of throw at it.
All right. So this does not pertain. They put this in here because there's a lot of sea-based adventures, and they want to give you, hey, you want to take it one step further, use this. Is basically for 5e. So
Mhm.
this book is like one of those rare books. It's probably in perfect condition, $100. The blue books like this and the complete book of Necromancers and the one with gosh, what's it called? Non-monster deed.
Oh yes, exactly. Monster
complete.
mythology. That's
But
what
that's
it's
it.
called.
Those
Yes,
books
I
are
have it.
the blue
Mhm.
books are.
Yeah.
I guess they're rare and they're unbelievably expensive.
They are so.
I got Monster Mythology at
Yeah.
the last Gary kind of went to, I believe.
Yeah.
So
I
this
never owned
It looks like
this book, this was the
this.
best condition book. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that book. That
And
book is
yeah,
awesome.
it's one of the best Greyhawk books
It
ever
is.
made.
Now the complete book
yeah,
of Necromancers for me is right up there.
Mhm.
It is fantastic. We pull
Yep.
a lot of that
And
data
this one
out
is
of that book for ours.
Yeah, and
That
this one
book's
is
awesome.
prop full of humanoid and elven and dwarven and whatnot. Yeah, so it's
And
fantastic.
all the specialty priests spheres are in there if you're
Mhm.
into doing
Yep.
that like I am. Because
Yep.
if you use that book instead of the Forgotten Realms book, it's a
And
lot less spheres. You don't
yeah.
get 500 spells.
and
So
they use the best image ever. I think this is a Kuatua. And
yeah,
I love that image when he looks
Yeah.
so like what the hell is going on kind of. Oh, I love that one. The gods of the scaly folks.
so Jason
That's
Zorda
the-
says you can get a PDF of this. Now,
Yes,
the
yeah, you
difference
can.
between this and what's in here on page 186, I think is this. That's a stripped down version, but I believe it's from it's the same rules, just put in 5e because it has the same exact stuff in it. But I think it's just converted over to 5e. And that's a cool thing. Now, Thunder has a question. Can you talk about your personal uses of naval combat? All right, so we've had a couple, and you've seen them on our adventures, particularly the hard B scenarios. So when everyone's trying to kill Michael Baton, and there's winds and stuff like that. We use almost, gosh, how do I say this? We use who's leeward or windward as an advantage, okay, of
Mhm.
ships,
Dang.
right? And then we use movement rates basically almost in inches from front to front, right? So of movement of what you're going to move that round with all the actions in it. And then we assign it like a turning capability. We keep it simple because if
Yeah.
we make it difficult, it's gonna, especially on a stream, it's gonna bog down everything that's going on.
Mhm.
So we just kind of looked at this and said, this makes the most sense for what we're doing. We're using these ships, and we don't want to make this completely crazy. I think you're better making. Hey, Tom, what's going on, man? You just missed Leonard Lakofka. He was on. He just hopped on for no reason,
Hi,
Tom.
Tom.
You missed
Yep.
him. So, but I'll see you tomorrow night. I think you're better basic building it, then adding rules as you go. That's just my suggestion.
Yeah. In my Sea Princess campaigns that I've been doing over the last several years, I have a link to one of my blog posts I did about that. I've been building a hybrid system
Oh, cool.
as I go, and I've used everything from
Great
expert
Lake.
rules, 1E. I'm all over the place. Storm Rack.
Mhm.
So I really haven't had an opportunity to use Ghost of Saltmarsh stuff yet. And it really depends. I've done just narrative ship battles
Which is okay
where
too.
I just want the main, like boarding action, and I don't really care about ship to ship battles so much. So yeah,
We
I've
have
never
had we've had a ship blow up from a magical mine, kind of like what they have at the ruins of Cantona. You know, they have those siege weaponries that are non-magical. Those big, if you ever read that stuff in the Slavers, so they have the same thing outside Cantona of the mine. So I had that happen. We've had rams. We've had fire. We've had fire attempting to take the sails out. We've done a lot. So I'm just going with the flow on it. I'm doing common sense stuff when it comes to ship combat. Because we're not doing a miniatures war game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm more worried about the guys fighting each other with the spells and the attacks and the crossbows and the ballistas and all that stuff. So that's what I'm more worried about of the fight, is the fighting between the characters than the ship combat itself. But you gotta take that in consideration. And pretty soon, in a year and a half, we'll have that huge Reaper pirate ship that's that everyone's
Then
getting.
you have to dig into it. Yeah.
So let's see if it's nice with the sailor background. The reason I have chosen sailor. All right, so Thunder, we have a special class in my game called a Corsair. It's a subclass of bandit. It is the bandit class out of the Dragon magazine, except it's made for shipboard. So here's the differences between a bandit and a Corsair. A Corsair gets +1 to hit and damage, and +1 in saves for every 159 in levels on ship combat, because they're used to moving around stuff, grabbing a rope and swinging around. You know, okay. Secondly, their thieving abilities are halved everywhere else, but they're full on ship. And then and third, they get some specializations, and that's basically it. But on ship, they have an advantage over normal other characters in their fighter subclass, because that's where they fight. So it's kind of like taking the Marines. So if you have you hire Marines on a ship, that would be they'd be Corsairs in my game. So that's kind of the idea behind it. So yes, go ahead, Mike.
Anyhow, I was gonna like backtrack a little bit.
Go for
In
it.
Ghost of Saltmarsh, I forgot about the backgrounds. They add some new backgrounds in there that are not in the base 5e.
Okay.
So I mean, you got like your Fisher,
cool, Thunder,
Marine, Shipwright, which is interesting, building ships. I think those were the 3 main new ones. I can't remember if Smuggler was new or not. It might be new. But, I mean, they were common sense backgrounds that I don't think were covered in the any other book to that point.
So it is a general benefit to all 5e players then in this, it is they only appear in this book, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, from character creation to running sailing rules to underwater rules. There's a lot of stuff in there about aquatic hazards. Then there's the breadth of new aquatic monsters. This book is just source book. You don't even have to run the adventures. The source book material in there is valuable.
I think that seems to be a business decision from a lot of publishers. That way they both have to have fluff and crunch and adventure modules in one go to appeal to as broad of an audience as possible. Yeah. Especially Wizards of the Coast seems to go that way. And from a business standpoint, I think it's great, because this is something that players will get for the player crunch, and the DMs will get it for the adventures. But even if you don't want to run the adventure, you get it so you can get the rules for ship combat and seaborne adventures and stuff. So it's probably a smart way to make a book as versatile as possible.
Yeah.
So I want to put this out there in the final 5 minutes before we do what's going on, and I'm going on. Hey, it's holiday time, so what do we think is going to be the next thing that they do Greyhawk wise? I want to just throw it out there, and cool, Casey, that's cool stuff. What do you think, Mike, Anna, and the audience? What do you think they're going to do next? I mean, first of all, we agree this was a success.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was well thought out.
Excellent. So, what do you think that they're going to do next? I'm going to tell you what I think after you guys.
Okay.
Now you put me on the spot here. I was thinking I was going to try and do the safe bet and just think what kind of old classic popular module have they not done. I was thinking maybe they do a mega dungeon and go for more castle.
David Leonard's correct. Slaver series. That's what I think. The A series.
Yeah.
He's dead on.
Yep.
That's what I think too. They're going to do A1 through that, absolutely. But I don't think they're going to touch Temple, Gitano. I think they're going to do the Slavers, because the Saltmarsh and Wild Coast.
Yeah, but I don't think they want to do anything that is involved Drow, because they are tied to Forgotten Realms nowadays. So they will probably stay away from anything that has Drow in them. You might do a rewrite, and I forgot, it's only the third of the module, the Vault of the Drow, that has Drow. Or are they in? I think they're in second. I forgot about that. If they're in the second,
yeah,
that is very likely that they might do a re thing. But the interesting thing is they did Temple of Elemental Evil and didn't even make it Greyhawk. They make it generic.
Yeah.
So maybe they will steal these things and make them generic too. That's that's a possibility. But I'm also thinking that now we've seen what they've done with Eberron. And if Eberron sells really well, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see or hear anything about Greyhawk for a year. And then it will be a similar product to Eberron coming out in 2021 or 22. That is, I think, it might likely, if Eberron is a success as revamping an old school world, they will probably take something else first, and then do Greyhawk in 2, 3, maybe 4 years or something like that. That's my guess, because
Gary,
Greyhawk
that
is
was
still.
hysterical.
Yeah, we need to stop playing
Puppets.
first. Yeah. Oh yes,
Child's
puppets.
play.
Yeah, or Baltron's Beacon or something.
I love Baltron's Beacon, actually, but
Yeah,
Puppets,
yeah.
Child's Play, Gargoyle. You
Yeah.
guys are just throwing them out there now. Thunder. So you say you need someone to get you into Greyhawk lore for dummies. I mean, that's what my Gabbin show is, man. We try and go over stuff like that,
Well,
and that's what
it's same
we
thing.
do
That's
here
what we
too.
want to do in Legends and Lore. Yes, it's for yeah. But
I
sometimes
will never
I
be
guess
sick
we
of
sit
you.
on our pedestals and go so deep into it that if you haven't played in 20 years, it's not interesting. So I'm sorry, and we need to kind of dial down, and at least we did that in the beginning. We probably need to go back to do that every now and then to really go back to the basics again.
Absolutely. And we have 2020 coming up, because this will be our last show, because of Wednesday is Christmas and New Year's, so that's not going to work staying on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of David has a great timeline. I agree. We are trying, guys. 2020 is going to be extremely fun. So we're right at that 9:50 mark.
We have a whole bunch of stuff we need to cover of things coming up, things in the works, things planned, and the future stuff. So yeah.
All right. So Mike, what's going on for you over the holidays and going into 2020?
What's going on with me with the holidays?
Yeah, I mean, like, you playing anything, getting together in groups, or?
Well, I might be finishing off that Ghost of Saltmarsh book, hopefully, and I play on Sundays, so I'm thinking we might get some of that done before the end of the year. Our last Sunday, we did our Christmas, so we didn't game this last Sunday, but beyond that, after that, we might actually take a break from Greyhawk and run a different game.
Really?
One of the other guys, I take breaks time to time.
Huh.
But I'm still running a every other Saturday thing, which I don't know if I discussed with you last time, set in the city of Greyhawk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that I'm just kind of sandboxing.
That's awesome. It's one of the best places to sandbox there is, man.
Yeah.
Super cool. But we'll continue, to be continued this in 2020. Absolutely. So we got a lot of, we absolutely will have a lot of fun content coming up. So Anna, what's going on?
The big thing now, I'm actually doing Greyhawk work full time this week, and we'll do it next week too, to try and get my release candidate. So my Patreon members will have the 576 map. It will be what I would call a release candidate, because I think there will be need to be some adjustment down in spring. So it will be released a version that I've at least worked over the whole map. And it's been a hell of a lot of work. There are hundreds of changes, way more than I thought, probably 1,000 changes. I've probably made 100 changes a day for several weeks now. And so it's way more research and stuff gone into it. So that one will be out to my Patreon members, and then it will come to everyone after the holidays. And so that is the big ticket item from my part. So almost everything else is in the back burner, but there is a hell of a lot of things in the back burner. One of the things that will come along with the final release of the 576 map is a study of rivers and waterways in Greyhawk. That will become, it will be kind of an add-on project that will match the 576 map, and that will be the new base map for my endeavors because it's the best, most well-researched map that I've done so far, and it's hundreds of more hours of research in it and sources. So I'm really proud of it. There's so much cool things. Just to mention a few things, I studied and read some of Bissell and realized that the area around Thornwood was misrepresented on my map. So I did some changes to that and added some stuff and stuff that matches the a lot of the text descriptions.
For our guys, Altimere's on the 576 map, guys. I checked.
Yes, it will be on the it will be it's still there. So there's just
Awesome!
like Mike's awesome all material
Yes!
will still be there and stuff. So
We
yeah,
made the cut, Mike.
yeah. So actually, the Bacloonish West is almost untouched. That don't seem to have changed much over the years at all. So I haven't even looked at it yet. But so I might be wrong when I start looking at it in next week. Then it might be some. But I'm working on the Sea Princess and the Scarlet Brotherhood. And those two, I thought they were just simple changes, but it's kind of one of my, and now this is a question I need to put to you two guys. How far west was the expansion of the Scarlet Brotherhood in 576? Were they, I was thinking, were they in the Amedio or on the Hook Peninsula at all, or were they still
the plateau and the peninsula and just a little north of that, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, I was thinking they I've seen text sources that hints that they already down in them in the Hebmona land to get monsters and stuff. So
yeah,
and
no.
that makes sense.
I'm
because
fine with that.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So I'm going to say that they haven't even got to the Old Man Island. They got to Los Bosok, that island that is just west of it. That one and the Hepmona land, that they have outposts there. That's been established.
You got to leave
in
the
text.
Amedio and everything on the bay for the Sea Princes, because that's how they get rich.
Exactly. So that's what I've done. I've taken the forts that were there for Scarlet Brotherhood in 598 and simply repurposed them back to Sea Princes, because I simply assume they are the Sea Princes slave raiding camps back in the day.
Yeah.
So that's
of course in my campaign, the Scarlet Brotherhood is a tripartite government. Remember, one of those three is the thieves. Well, in my campaign, the thieves are pirates. So they're just another pirate faction out on the Azure Sea, and
that makes sense.
You know, they're out doing all the same stuff the Sea Princes are doing, but they just don't know they're ran by the Scarlet Brotherhood.
I never have wanted them to expand beyond that point in my game because I don't use them, and I don't want them interloping into my Sea Princes, because the Sea Princes were in Keelan and were always at war. You know, so but you know, it's just
fun out of it.
It does. It does. It's like, you know, it took them over. But you know, that's just the way. Hey, you know, it's okay.
And then I have something I need to talk to Dennis Tetro, to Meldin, because I got the question: Is Melcott actually exists in 576? And I think you didn't build the city in no time, so it must have been there.
I would say so.
But the thing was that it wasn't in the original published material. It came in the LGG or the Living Greyhawk era. That's when it was kind of introduced. So that's one of these perfect examples of you have to kind of back update the if you add something significant later, I simply assume that it existed. The city doesn't pop up with 2,000 inhabitants in a year, so to speak. It's probably been there or been developed gradually. So, but I need to revisit Maldon's website and read his story again, and then contact him about that too. So that's some of these things that needs to be done to get the map. But I'm really happy with how the map is turning out. It's a lot of cool things and I've taken a little bit more artistic freedom and included a little bit more. When I did the original 598 map, the public map, I was more kind of no, don't do anything that is not specifically written in the source. Now I've taken a little bit more liberty and added a bit more material to it. And for instance, the provinces of Sea Princes are, that's interesting. That's one of the details that are in the original settings book from '83. They are mentioned to some degree. So there's the talk of the plar of the Hool as a title. So now there is a plardom of Hool, and I researched where plardom or plar comes from. That's one of these titles that Gary invented. It's not a title that exists in real world. So
No
so there
idea.
is no plardom. It's only he had a
Okay.
title called plar, and that's actually an Oridian name for a ruler that rules over a non-Oridian area with non-Oridians. Like you go
Darn.
or conquer like someone who's run a colony or something. So there's
Plar.
interesting, yeah. Exactly. There's some Bandit Kingdom have plars and stuff up there. So I never seen the
Right.
term plardom of an area, but I thought it would be kind of cool. So now
See you, David.
plardom of Hool is the southwestern area of the Sea Princes, and it's run from the city of Hukar. That's the province capital of the plardom of Hool. But then I have the actual around the Hool River and north of the Hool River, but towards Geometry, that's the area that I need to redesign, I think, because there is one problem in the living Greyhawk material. There is the Yanti kingdom of Hatiska that is introduced into it. And that
That's
was
new to
not
me.
there in earlier content, but it's kind of cool to have that monster kingdom in there. So now I need to adjust it a bit and say that, okay, 576, the Yanti, they took advantage of the Scarlet Brotherhood's invasion and expanded when all the mayhem happened. So now I can kind of scale that back a bit and make more room for the Sea Princes. So that's kind of my thinking when I'm trying to juggle all these bits and pieces. So that's
Well,
the main thing that happens right now.
it is. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
mean, a
So
lot
that
of.
me going on a mapping rant. I can talk about this.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, so it's mapping, but then I have so that will come out in January with the map, and then I have a bunch of seminars and stuff coming up for GaryCon, and I'll do my utmost to come to GaryCon, and I will be in 4 seminars. So yeah, I will have my own 2-hour seminar where I just babble about my maps, and people can ask questions. And then I will be on there will be a Greyhawk Renaissance Greyhawk fandom, and I will be one of the panelists on that one. And then I will be having this is an interesting, me and Alyssa Faden and a guy called Kfir Mendel. He's the cave mapper, he was calling himself. He makes awesome maps on leather. And so he imprints them using a real cool technique to make them 3D, and he prints basically.
I didn't know he was in with it.
Yeah. So him, Alyssa, and Kfir, Alyssa, and me, we are going to have a kind of a map jamming seminar where we can simply just go on and discuss and do a map while we're doing it. So yeah.
You can't see it.
There you have his card. So yeah.
He's
So
a good guy.
that one I will be involved in, and I will also be involved in one seminar where freelancers and stuff talk. How do you get into the business? How do you work with contracts and a lot of stuff, meaning how do you survive doing this, and hints and tricks and how it is to be a freelancer in the RPG business. So I have 4 reasons to and then meet a lot of other people. So that will be.
You're going to keep yourself very busy there.
Yeah. So that's the immediate plans when it comes to this. But then I have some other. I have the Lendor Isles map that has been in the back burner. I have some updates and stuff that I need to put in, and some new cool technology stuff that will come into that, because there is some new techniques. So the top patrons on my Patreon will have that in. Probably in February or March, there will be some new interesting things that I need to tweak a little bit and look at when it comes to that, because now it's been so much just Greyhawk spewing out Greyhawk stuff and updates. So the mapping technique have been in the back burner. So my top patrons have been suffering for a bit, but they will get their bit this spring, because there's new software coming out. There's a whole so this spring from like March and to summer will probably be mostly mapping technique and stuff like that coming out.
So Gary asks if you're.
Oh yes, yeah, that's a great
fractal.
question. And now we're getting deep into map technology here, but yes, so these are fractally controlled, so to speak. And what you do is that you create a fractal where you put in things like elevation, slope, and climate, and then you simply decide that the tree line in this, if it's like up in the polar circle, the tree line, it's only southern slopes that are very close to sea level that get enough rain and humidity and moisture. Those are the only areas where trees will grow. And then you have the roughness factor of meaning if it's too rocky and too rough, then trees will not grow there. And then you have certain patterns in the areas where the trees actually grow. And then so then that will create what we will call I've simply called that a spread map. That's the mask that tells where the trees can actually grow. And then I take that spread mask and either create fractally just a texture, or I simply create the texture by hand in Photoshop. And then I can also give them a bump. So I give them bumps. So you can put them in a 3D software and they will actually be 3D bumps on the terrain that looks like trees when you can fly over them or show them in a 3D view. So there's a lot of different components, but it is a long fractal kind of recipe for where trees grow and also what kind of trees, meaning palm trees are green one way, evergreens like pine and spruce are green in another way, and some of them are green in summer and not green in winter, etc. So for texture stuff. So yeah.
Yes.
Great question.
Yep.
So to wrap things up, we stream tomorrow night, and we finish up adventure number 867, Into the Depths of the Sus. All right. The adventure group, the Reborn, will be they're in there. The Selenian Sus Forest Night Watch has come as asked them to come. The Horn of Selene gets blown, and one of the two members of the Night's Watch gets killed during that fight. And there's a mysterious albino, dressed all in white human who disappears, who's casting spells on our side of the river. They pursue this person, and they run across. The pictures are up, guys. You want to take a look at that on the Facebook posts. And they fight a Lyrinican and a half. I did a treant halfway between a treant and a Lyrinican, and they had to they fought for whether or not this thing was going to go tainted or not, and they saved it. So that went well. But the treant, their U-spine, said that there's an ancient ruins. He doesn't even know how old. It's been there since before he knew, and that's where they're headed next. So we will see what happens tomorrow night with that. It'll be the end, because for the year, the day after Christmas, there's no way I'm going to have my group together. Everyone's got family stuff going on, so there's absolutely no way. So this will be the last gaming stream for the year for us for Thursday night. Yeah, big ass trees. You like that, Jason? And the tree, yeah, and the one tree and animated two trees that we're fighting as well. So
yeah, there's one question from Gary that I answered when you're done with all the stuff.
If you want to answer it now, go ahead. That's
yeah,
fine.
it's the you say it's possible to have a 1 mile scale, and actually the Dreadwood map that is on my Flannery's map now is 1 mile per pixel. And the next time I go back using the new technology, it will be 100 feet per pixel. So you can basically see individual trees, large individual trees. That's my aim, so to speak, to have a detail level of 100 feet per pixel. So that's what I'm doing for the Lendor Isles, and that's what I will do for.
I don't even want to know the hard drive space. You're talking gigs.
Oh yes, yeah. I have 40 terabytes of hard drive. That I calculated if you do the Flannies, the same coverage that I have on my existing map, and you do that in 100 feet per pixel, that means that you have 80 gigabyte of texture data, texture only. And then you have elevation, that's probably another 50 or something. So I probably need 20 terabyte of data in order to get most of the masks and all the necessary like texture and elevation and most of that stuff. But the cool thing with it is that when you have that data, you can feed it into a game engine, or you can feed it into one of these render software, where instead of painting the mask, because when you see it from a distance, it's just a number of pixels that looks like a forest. But if you zoom close is, let's say you want to have a battle map that looks like you want to have like a clearing in the forest, the battle map with a few houses and a road going through it, and over across a little stream or something like that. If you zoom in that close, you want to have individual trees that looks like trees. You can actually put that in a game engine and use the map data to tell the game engine where to put trees and where to put grass, open land, and where to put the water, etc., and the elevation. And you can actually make Greyhawk look like Skyrim, if with the better work. So that's the end goal, to do that. But in order to do more in the small areas, but the cool thing is you take a certain areas like 10 by 10 miles with the data from the big map, and you put that in Unreal or Unity game engine, and with the splat maps and all the data in there, and it could generate the terrain in perfect photoreal like Skyrim on the fly. That's the cool thing. Hardly no work required. So the ultimate goal is to take that. So when I redo it, I will do all this data so it's there. So you can either put it in a geographical information system or a game engine, and you can actually zoom in and you can kind of go over the world and see it, the whole world. That's the goal with it. But it will take it's a 10-year project to kind of get it there. But I'm working on it. So
Imagine 10 years from now.
Unbelievable.
Yep. So
Hopefully I'm
that's
there to see
the
it.
goal, so to speak. You have to realize that the current map is created using
Greyhawk map for
20-year-old
Call of
technology.
Duty.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So you have to
awesome.
realize that the current map is created using 20 or almost 30-year-old technology. It's program and software that was made in the mid-90s. That's what have used to create
It
the
just
current
didn't have
one.
rendering computers
Exactly. So
capable
there was
for
no. It's so rudimentary, and it's just a hodgepodge of stuff
Yep.
that kind of looks cool but has no real use. So now I'm working with technology that is cutting state of the art today. That is way different.
Thanks for that question.
Yep.
Appreciate the answer,
I have a
Anna, on
question.
that. Go for it.
Jay, you never said what you think the next module or will
Oh,
be.
I
Yeah,
agree with David
exactly.
Leonard. I agree with David.
Okay.
He said the A series. I agree 100%.
Okay.
I was
I
going
must have
Slavers. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going
Okay.
Slavers all the way. It's
Slavers.
4 modules, right? So they can
Right.
one, two. Plus
String
there's
them.
A0 as well that was made. So they
Okay.
can take that as a fifth. So you got 5
My
modules.
rebuttal was going to be the movie. Like,
Yeah.
very soon, the movie's coming out, and we recently heard.
Yeah, we have
it's
Vecna.
going to have the Eye of Vecna in it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And Forgotten Realms.
So that means that we will see a Vecna module. Damn, I should have thought about that.
Well,
Yeah,
we didn't
Forgotten Realms.
specify that this next book's going to be set in Greyhawk.
No, but it's like Temple of Elemental Evil. It's Greyhawk for us, even if they steal it. from
Thunder,
someone
Anna
else.
doesn't use either Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds. Anna uses Fantasy Grounds for the most part.
I've tried both, and there is, you can export. That's the beauty of, once you have it in data form, so to speak, you can simply export it and render it in whatever shape and form you want. Now I have familiar issue again, so she's hungry. So yeah. But so you can actually do a lot of things with it.
Like,
so yeah.
No, I don't want Elminster. I don't want, because then we all would just be sitting around smoking weed all day.
Oh,
So-
exactly. Yeah, we
yeah.
have to skip that one. No,
Yeah,
Elminster.
absolutely
We have
there.
enough in Mordenkainen and Bigby and whatnot.
Yeah, and I have
so,
Xaxius the Master Bard, and he's high all the time anyway. So,
Yeah.
all right. So, real quick, we have a game tomorrow night, and it'll be our last giveaway of the year too. So I'll make sure I have a giveaway for that. Sunday night is probably out on Gabbin because I'm going to a party for the Eagles Cowboys game, and hopefully the Eagles don't get destroyed, but they may, and then I may. If I come home, I will put out a word to everyone. I have my emergency Gabbin set, and I'll let everyone know that I'll just add it in. It's like I always have this one ready to go, and it's called creating a custom class. So if I'm miserable in my mood, you may get me on a Gabbin on Sunday night if it's like 27-0 or whatever, and then I'll do a Gabbin on Sunday night if yeah. Yeah, exactly. Hey, so there's a 500 bowl. You're absolutely correct. But at least I got a Super Bowl finally in my life 2 years ago. So, but other than that, we'll be off for the Christmas holiday. And the next Gabbin show will be after that. Will be my year in review, which I did last year. Sick, if you guys remember how sick I was when I did it. But we'll do a year in review on what we've done on the channel, all the great adventures, the fundraiser, which was unbelievable. The entire we'll talk about the defense of the Watchers Tower, some of the conventions I went to. And that I'm not, if you all saw my posts, I'm sorry I had to rant today about my situation at Gary Con's. Just leave it at that. I ranted. I feel much better now, but I'm probably not going to go to Gary Con. I'm going to do Reaper Con instead. Reaper Con's actually asked me to go to this, so I mean that's probably the way I'm going to go. I get to go. It's a wife agreement. I get to travel to one outside the Philadelphia market a year. No Gen Con this year, and it was going to be Gary Con, but with what's going on, I may just make it Reaper Con instead. So, anyone have any? Yes, it's down the road. Well, Mike, you'll get to. I'll be there. Frank will be there. Jimmy Duffy will be there. Jacob Jansen, Jeff will be there. We'll have a whole crew, so we'll all hang out together. How'd the fundraiser go last year? Thunder, great question. We raised over $1,000, and we were missing 4 hours of the stream. So in a 16-hour stream, there's 12 hours actually went. We raised over $1,000. My goal this year is double that, to do $2,000 in this 20-hour stream. I think we can get there. Especially if we have some big sponsors. Plus, we're gonna have a cool story. It's gonna be. I don't want to really ruin it, but it's going to be a character in modules. There's 3 modules with this character in there, and it's going to be about that character after those modules years later, coming back for even more revenge. So it'll be, they just, what a nightmare. So I've decided I think I'm going to move on from that, but we'll Jason's blunt. Yeah, Jason's like they just threw him out. Yeah, so I don't want to deal with it, and it's better off. I don't want to go there as a bitter guy. I just want to I'm just letting things relax now that I finally got this out. It's all good, I want to enjoy the holidays with my family, but yeah, we are gonna have next year's our 40th anniversary. Ton of stuff next year. Lots of stuff. I'm going to run a lot of adventures. We'll have Greyhawk names in it. A lot of cool people. We're going to do a ton of content for 2020 to celebrate our 40th year of the campaign. So I'm looking forward to it. Plus, we should have some special guests coming up in for Legends of Lore. We don't have a set show yet. Our set date is going to be January 8th. Okay, and Anna's working on getting someone for that show.
Yes, we have some cool names that we will hopefully get for that show. We'll see. At least for one show this spring. So there will be some cool names that with a lot of Greyhawk clout.
Yep. And then we're off for the 15th because I think it's Anna's anniversary and I have a conflict. And then the 22nd. So Casey, put the word out to everyone. The 22nd is going to be the Living Greyhawk group night. Okay, that's January 22nd. Wednesday is we're going to shoot for having.
That means that Mike, you and me, we are out. We weren't in the Living
Greyhawks. Absolutely,
we can listen in.
Listening
in
is
secret.
Good. Yeah, but that's the night we're going to do it. So I have 3 names buried here somewhere who have said yes. So we're going to shoot for that night to hit all of the Living Greyhawk people.
Well, we need Gary. He's the Living Greyhawk person.
It's an open invitation to any of the Living Greyhawk people who ran.
He can come on, Gary. You can come on any show.
And
we will do an extra show for you.
Absolutely. We can do an addition show the week after, or whatever. Or Gary can come on the 8th if we don't get the other person, right?
Oh, well, even if we get the other person, you can come on anyway.
I'm saying there's someone
we will bump him and get you instead. So
yes, so we got a lot of good things going on. Hang tight. I hope everyone has a great holiday. If I don't talk to you, but I'll see a lot of you tomorrow night. It's gonna be a great. I got Tom's back, Walt's back. It's a full crew. I get to kill some people tomorrow night. Trust me on this, because they think that they're gonna find the lost city of the Sulwees. Well, maybe they are. Maybe they're not. Okay, so we'll see. It'll be a good one. So thank you all for hanging in there and watching. Hey, thank you, Leonard Lakofka, for coming on for no reason other than to come on. And thank you, Will, for coming on very early. It seems like an eternity ago, but Will was on to begin. And let's all say a little prayer for Brian's wife, who was in a serious car
Mhm.
accident, and that's why he was not on tonight. So I'll give you an update tomorrow on the stream how Brian Sublime's wife is doing. She's a really nice person. So, and she let like my wife. She lets him get away with a lot of shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's pretty cool. He wasn't in on the accident. She was, but Brian's was at the hospital, and that's why he wasn't on tonight.
Yep.
Check out Brian's stuff at Obsidian Portal. Anna's been there and has played in it.
It's awesome. Yeah.
He has special rules for worshippers of all the Greyhawk deities. He's got rules on herb gathering, all custom and all done by himself at scratch. It's really fantastic stuff. So, yep.
Yeah.
All right,
I'll put a
guys.
link to my my stuff in chat too, just in case you want to check out my maps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Very good.
Thank you. That was a good one. Good one to end the year for
Yeah.
Legends of Lore. We're gonna have a whole bunch more coming on. We're going to raid Will because I promised that.
Yep.
So I'm gonna put
So-
I'm gonna put the exit screen on as we're going. Yeah, I will.
Happy
Everyone
Need
knows
Fest,
Brian. Brian's a great
everyone.
guy.
Yep.
Happy
Mhm.
Need Fest.
Brian
Yep.
is a yes. Hopefully, hang in there, guys, so we can all go and see good old. Let me get on this raid thing. Come on, this thing's so freaking slow. Raid channel. We're gonna hit hidden, and he'll like this. Thank you. We'll see you soon. And remember, it doesn't matter what edition you play as long as it's Greyhawk. Hey, keep it up.
Yep.
Play, enjoy. See you soon.
Right.
Did that raid go in?
I don't know.
Hold on. Raid. Now.
I don't.
There it goes.
Yeah, it's rating.
Oh yes, now it's okay. Yep.
Awesome. Well, that was an interesting one tonight, huh?
Yeah. Mhm.
Went
That
all
was
over
a
the-
lot of things happening, so
Yeah,
that was
that's- which is
fantastic.
fine.
Yep. Yep.
That was so awesome. I mean, I didn't even talk. I only talked to Leonard about what was going on. So
Oh yeah, so he
You
popped
tried.
in. That was so cool. Yep.
Hmm.
I'll run this and I'll stop it. Yeah, it's like the schedule's pretty devoid right now because the holidays are hitting right in the middle of the week, So,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
Which is good because people get extra time off from work.
That's true. It's true. Like me, I'm still off.
Oh yeah, but you've been off for like a week.
Oh.
Yeah, we covered a lot of things today. That was good. Yeah.
I'll check with Brian to see.
Yeah. And I have to thank Gary for asking me some map questions.
Yeah.
That was fun too. Yeah.